the sound transmission, Jades of Xuanyuan Wentian, and all the elders of mighty heavenly sword region began to buzz frenetically with profound energy. Several of the mighty heavenly sword region elders picked up their sound transmission Jades with shaky hands, and the messages that they received were more frantic than the last. The northern region is gone. 13th elder just now, a spatial rift that stretched tens of kilometers appeared in the air above us just now. The northern region, the entire northern region was suddenly plucked up into the air and sucked into that spatial rift. All of the medicine, profound beasts, and people within the northern region suddenly disappeared without a trace. It's true. It's really true. Everyone here witnessed it with their own two eyes. Pavilion Master, a terrible thing has happened. The northern region has completely disappeared. Quickly report this to the Lord Sword Master. The cries that originated from the disciples of mighty heavenly sword region rang in the air and told everyone present that everything that they had witnessed was not an illusion or a nightmare. Rather, it was the truth, a truth that was millions of times more dreadful than any nightmare could ever be. Fengyi felt her entire body sway. At this moment, even though she possessed the profound strength that was at the very peak of the sovereign profound realm, she felt her entire body go limp and weak. While her body was swaying, she found herself almost collapsing to the floor several times. Despite being 35,000 kilometers away, she had destroyed the mighty heavenly sword region's northern region with a simple casual gesture. If that was so, then that young girl who was clad in red would only need to flick her fingers to make the entire Supreme Ocean Palace that was beneath her feet disappear. Before this, they were prepared to move against Yunqi for the sake of obtaining the mirror of samsara. But now they had all witnessed the miserable state mighty heavenly sword region had ended up in, and the other three sacred grounds naturally knew that it would be their turn after she had finished dealing with mighty heavenly sword region. Absolute monarch sanctuary had Xuanyuan around, so that might end up preserving them. But Supreme Ocean Palace had no such thing. Brother-in-law, is she really your master? Xuanyuan, whose profound energy had been unsealed, said as he staggered towards Yunqi, his eyes as wide as saucers. He could not help but stuttering even though he was only asking a simple question. Yes, Yunqi said as he nodded his head and replied honestly. The person who repaired my profound veins 7 years ago, instructed me in my cultivation, and guided me during my experiences and tribulations has always been her. Then she, no, I mean this senior, just who is she? Xuanyuan said as he sucked in small breath. No wonder brother-in-law became so powerful in such a short span of time. To think that such a powerful person actually existed in this world, I feel like I'm dreaming right now. Senior, Yunqi said with a hearty chuckle, she is younger than you know. She is around the same age as Zur. The corner of Xuanyuan's mouth twisted as he was completely dumbstruck for a good long while. After that, he finally let out a strangled cry. Huh! Feng Zur and Feng Zhuqi, who were beside them, had listened on their conversation, and they were immediately so shocked that they were completely dumbfounded and tongue-tied. Jasmine is already 20 years old now. Yunqi mumbled to himself dazedly as he looked at the young girl who stood in the center of the sea god arena. The young girl who was currently causing the 4 sacred grounds to nearly piss themselves collectively in fear. When he had met Jasmine all those years ago, she was merely 13 years old. At that time, even though she was striving to portray a cold, arrogant, and mature front, she still possessed the youthful immaturity of a young girl, and it would still flash to the surface inadvertently. She would throw a tantrum, would get flustered and exasperated, and would act impulsively from time to time. She would also be fond of cute things, especially things that were red in color. She would also frequently be absent-minded and dreamy. She would also scold him vociferously over little things that she disapproved, and she had once even shed stubborn tears because she could not put on a strong front anymore. During these past few years, he had grown and Jasmine had grown as well. Her appearance had not changed in the slightest since they had met, but her temperament had long ago changed from that of a 13-year-old girl. She had become a lot more cold and mature since then. Even the killing intent she radiated occasionally was far more solid than it was in the past. The arm that Jasmine had raised to the sky slowly lowered as she gave an indifferent and cold sniff of disdain. After that, she did not ask Xuanyuan Wentian the question she had asked him before, and she did not even spare him a second glance. Her eyes, which flashed with a bewitching red light, suddenly swiveled as she looked in the direction of Sun Moon Divine Hall before finally settling on Yi Meixi's body. Yimexi reacted as if he had been struck by lightning the moment Jasmine's gaze abruptly fell upon him. He retreated one step in panic. His face looked like it had just been fiercely struck by a fist, as all the muscles on his face contracted and scrunched together tightly in extreme panic and fear. "Yimexi," Jasmine said in a bland voice. Yimexi, who heard his name being called, felt his body go completely cold and stiff, and he nearly melted to the ground. "Just now this princess heard you say that you have never had to write the word regret all your life." Heave, heavenly monarch. The 5 divine envoys of Sun Moon Divine Hall were just 10 steps behind Yimexi. Every single one of them had fear-filled expressions plastered across their face, and none of them dared to take a single step forward. 23 elders of mighty heavenly sword region, who had faced judgment before them, had been decapitated in the mere blink of an eye. Their bloody heads were still lying on the ground, and they still rolled around every now and then. Yimexi raised his head in fear and trembling before he made humble and deferential bow towards Jasmine. This junior boasted arrogantly without thinking, I beg this senior for forgiveness. Even if you beat him to death, Yimexi would not believe that the dreadful girl in front of him was not even 1/100th of his age. Senior? Jasmine asked, her eyebrows arching upwards. It was clear that she detested this form of address as she coldly replied, What? Are you telling me that you know how to write the word regret all of the sudden? Yes, I know how to write it. Yimexi dipped his head and did not dare meet Jasmine's gaze. He had been the heavenly monarch of Sun Moon Divine Hall for 1,000 years already. However, today, a peerless hegemon who had lorded over all for the past millennium had been reduced to a yes-man who was trembling in fear and terror. He could choose to be stubborn and unyielding, and he could also choose to laugh in haughty arrogance, but he had to know how to judge people. Given the world-shaking power that Jasmine had just displayed, he realized that his strength, which he had originally believed to be nearly unrivaled under heaven, was like a small grain of sand compared to the vast ocean that represented her power. If he were to attempt to act like the heavenly monarch in front of her, it would simply be the biggest joke on this earth. Oh, is that so? Jasmine said with a mocking and icy laugh. Since you say that you know how to write that word, then do it for this princess to see so that this princess will really know whether you are truly able to write that word. You better write it well, because if you do not, the consequences will be extremely dire. Yimexi stared blankly as all of the people from Sun Moon Divine Hall went as white as sheet. Mighty heavenly sword regions, now obliterated northern region, served as a fine testimony as to how severe those consequences could be. Yes, I will write it. I will write it right now. Even though this was the most abject humiliation, Yimexi did not dare to voice out even the slightest objection or complaint. He did not even dare say or do anything that was more than what was necessary. His entire body trembled as he sank to his knees and extended a finger. At first, he had intended to use his profound energy to carve the word into the profound stone that made up the floor of the sea god arena. But after thinking about it for a moment, he quickly changed his mind and hurriedly used his profound energy to break the skin on his finger. He used the blood that sprayed out from that wound to carefully and meticulously write down the word regret on the turquoise profound stone. Every single stroke was filled with the greatest shock, fear, and humiliation he had ever experienced in his life, and it also contained regret for ever provoking and offending this dreadful demon god. It was also the first time in his life that he had ever so carefully and meticulously written a word, and his only fear was that his handwriting showed even the slightest flaw. After he had finished writing this simple word, Yimexi's forehead had already been drenched in sweat. He withdrew his finger and got to his feet, but every single hair on his body was still violently trembling. HMPH, your handwriting isn't bad after all, Jasmine said as her eyes narrowed slightly. So it looks like you won't ever forget how to write this word again in your life. That's very good. You have been far more obedient than Xuanyuan Wentian. Since that is the case, then this princess will let you live for now. As her voice fell, Jasmine's pupils flashed with a weak red light. Rip, 4 bloody arrows sprayed from Yimexi's wrists and ankles. He gave a miserable scream as he crumpled to the ground, his entire body writhing in pain and agony, but he did not dare use his profound strength to staunch those wounds. Heave, heavenly monarch! Sun Moon Divine Hall's 5 divine envoys and gathered elders cried out in shock and fear. Yi Xinghan, who was hiding at the back, also began to shake violently in terror as well. Don't come over here, Yimexi said with a desperate roar as he struggled mightily to get on his knees as he said to Jasmine, I thank this senior for showing mercy and not killing me. given his physique and his profound strength, even if he was pierced 100 times by a sword, he still definitely would not bat an eye. Even though the 4 wounds Jasmine had inflicted on his body were extremely small and shallow, they caused him so much pain that it pierced his very soul. You will indeed not die from this. However, these 4 wounds will remain on your body for the next 6 days, Jasmine said. Her back had been turned towards him, but her icy and merciless words echoed in Xianxia's ears. After every 2 hours, the pain will intensify by a bit. It will cause you to feel as if 10,000 blades are rending your body, until it gets to the point where you are wishing for death. Furthermore, during this entire process, you will not be able to faint even if you wanted to, and if you dare to use profound energy to resist this pain, it will only intensify even more. It was as if Xianxia had heard a curse that came from the depths of hell. Both of his eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, and all of the tiny blood veins stood out against the whites of his eyes. Only he would be able to truly know the dreadfulness of the pain he was currently experiencing. At this moment, he felt as if 10,000 swords were piercing his heart, and Jasmine had said that the pain would intensify after every 2 hours. This meant that this pain would intensify another 71 times. He could not even imagine or bring himself to imagine just how painful that would be. You reap what you sow. This princess is actually helping you to remember just how to write the word regret right now. You better not ever forget it again. Xianxia flopped to the ground like an old dog that was on the verge of death. His widened eyes only contained a shocking gray-white despair. It was indeed true that no one could tell how dreadful the pain he was experiencing actually was. But for a master of a sacred ground, who possessed unrivaled profound strength, to experience so much pain that he was unable to stand, and every single muscle in his body was spasming intensely. One could well imagine the torture he was going through right now. However, this was merely just the beginning. The dense atmosphere in the Sea God arena only got even more intense. Everybody felt their entire bodies stiffen up, but they not only did not dare to muster the smallest bit of profound strength, they did not even dare to make any sounds, and even their breathing was shallow and careful. Even though Jasmine looked like a young child, possessed features that were as exquisite as a divine being, and had a mysterious and bewitching charm about her, all of these things were firmly buried under the icy cold dread that she provoked. She was as strong as a demon god, but besides just being strong, she was also cold and merciless. Her actions were also extremely ruthless, and one might go as far to call them evil and malicious. At this moment, anyone who felt her gaze brush over them would feel all the blood in their body congeal, as their heart abruptly stopped beating, and they felt like they were teetering on the very edge of the abyss. Jasmine's gaze shifted from Sun Moon Divine Hall to look in the direction of Supreme Ocean Palace. Her penetrating gaze bored holes into Sovereign of the Seas Xianxia. Xianxia, Supreme Ocean Palace's Sovereign of the Seas. What a grand and majestic title. But alas, it belongs to a stupid and greedy woman, Jasmine said in a cold and mocking voice. Under Jasmine's gaze, both Xuanyuan Wentian and Xianxia did not muster up any energy aura at all, and they looked markedly pathetic. Sovereign of the Seas Xianxia was no exception. Once, Xianxia had been marked by Jasmine's gaze. She felt her body sway as her face instantly went even whiter than a sheet. When she had faced Xianxia, she had been the dignified, majestic, and haughty Sovereign of the Seas, but in front of Jasmine, she was merely a woman who was about to collapse in terror. Xianxia had passed grievances with mighty Heavenly Sword Region and Sun Moon Divine Hall, but there was no resentment between him and your Supreme Ocean Palace. In fact, you could say that relations were cordial between the both of you. Yet you were the first to kick him when he was down, and after that, you coveted the mirror of Samsara as well. Heh, you better not tell this princess that you persecuted Xianxia for the sake of the profound sky continent. This princess knows very well which is the truly rapacious and despicable land of demons that has caused chaos and calamity for the others between your so-called 4 sacred grounds and the illusory demon realm. And all of you know it better than anybody else. Every single word that came from Jasmine's mouth caused the pupils of Xianxia's eyes to contract bit by bit. She, someone who possessed the profound strength that was at the very peak of the sovereign profound realm, collapsed to the floor at this very instant, and it seemed as if she could not even muster the strength to stand. As this princess, disciple Xianxia's aptitude, morals, and temperament are all barely passable. His sole flaw is the way he deals with women. Because when it comes to women, he has always been extremely stupid, fickle, lecherous, filled with lustful thoughts, and completely shameless and underhanded in his dealings with them. He simply loses all rationality when it comes to women, and he has risked his life countless times for their sake. He is simply so stupid in this aspect that it would be insulting to an idiot to slap him with the same label. The most common reason for Jasmine's scoldings was his past dealings with women, and that included the time when he desperately risked his life to obtain the netherworld Udambara flower for her. In fact, she had just given him an extremely thorough scolding because of that incident. However, he had long grown accustomed to these rants, and he had even come to cheerfully welcome the word lecher every time she called him that. But right now they were at the Sea God Arena, and Jasmine had just said this in front of everyone who was present. She had once again shot off a firecracker of vituperations and insults at him regarding the matter of women, and he could practically hear her teeth grinding together as she said those words. It was very clear that Jasmine had some extreme complaints regarding how he treated women, and it was not just any old complaint either, because every time she brought it up, it was always accompanied by a fury that could not be dampened. So he has never ever physically abused a woman before and has very rarely had to kill any. Jasmine said as she walked slowly towards Fengyi, but this princess has killed far more women than she has men. The entire Supreme Ocean Palace was thrown into a panic. She had not killed Xuanyuan Wentian, nor had she killed Yimeixi, but from the words she had just said, it was clear that she wanted to kill Fengyi. Fengyi was even more shocked and terrified than the rest of them, but she was unable to utter even a single word. If anyone in the profound sky continent wanted to kill her, it would be harder than reaching the heavens. But if Jasmine wanted to kill her, even if all of the 4 sacred grounds pooled their efforts to stop her, they would not even be able to delay her for a fraction of a second. At this time, Zai hurriedly rushed out as he begged and pleaded on Fengyi's behalf. "See, Senior, the sovereign of the seas did indeed act with greed and selfishness, and the mistake was all hers, but this is not something that calls for her death. If this senior truly wants to kill her, I beg that you allow this junior to say some words on her behalf. Her sins are not worthy of death." Jasmine's eyes fiercely swiveled to land on Zai. Under her gaze, Zai's legs grew limp and he sank to his knees. At this moment, extreme fear and shock had seized his heart as she began to speak. Fengyi intended to kill Yunqi and take the mirror of samsara for herself. Her heart and mind were filled avarice and wickedness, but you say that her crime is not worthy of death. Then how come you did not even fart when Yunqi was being forced to his death for no reason at all? Could it be that the life of this princess, disciple, is cheaper than the life of this woman? No, 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 Zai said as he shook his head in panic. This junior does not dare, even if this junior was infinitely more courageous. He still would definitely not dare to mean such a thing. As he was pressed down by a might that brought him to the edge of collapse, Zai did not even dare to raise his head to look at Jasmine's eyes. His heart heaved and he hurriedly crawled towards Yunqi's side as he shoved a blue-colored profound jade into his hands. Asgard Master Yun, please take a look at this. This was an extremely rare and precious profound imagery stone. As the images that were contained within were released, Yunqi could tell with a glance that some of those images showed the eastern part of Blue Wind Imperial City, and also showed a divine phoenix army slowly marching in from the west as they launched a grand assault against the Blue Wind Imperial City. Furthermore, these images also showed a person blocking the path of this divine phoenix army. It was astonishingly number 1 under heaven. Within these images, number 1 under heaven was shown dealing with the phoenix fire that had been shot out by one of the conducting elders of this divine phoenix army. He released a powerful, profound energy hurricane, pushing the flames back towards the divine phoenix army. Moreover, when number 1 under heaven had used his full power, his hidden elven wings had also unfurled fully, displaying their full splendor for all to see. Yunqi's brows furrowed. At this moment, he finally realized why Zai had suddenly posed him this question in a strange tone when he was about to leave the Black Moon Merchant Guild during his last visit. Have you ever heard of the illusory demon realm's 12 guardian families before? That is right, Zai gasped anxiously. Actually, I had already known that he was a denizen of the illusory demon realm since that time. And so it was obvious that you had also come from the illusory demon realm besides this profound imagery stone. Our Supreme Ocean Palace, like mighty Heavenly Sword region, had many spies left in Demon Imperial City. The only other person to see the images in this profound imagery stone besides myself was the Sovereign of the Seas, and we did not let anyone have access to it. We never exposed you and never told anyone else. If the Sovereign of the Seas truly wanted to harm you, then why would she not have done either of those things? Today, it was only because the situation forced our hand, and as the Sovereign of the Seas, she had no choice but to act in this way. I beg Asgard Master Yun to take into account these things and to ask your master to show mercy to the Sovereign of the Seas. Our Supreme Ocean Palace will definitely remember the grace that you have shown us, and we will remember it for all time. From today onwards, if Asgard Master Yun or your master makes any request of us, our Supreme Ocean Palace will risk life and limb too. The Zai Jai in Yun Chi's cognition was like an ancient well that was 10,000 years old. His temperament was extraordinary, and his inner strength ran as deep as the ocean. But at this moment, he was looking at Yun Chi with pleading eyes as he knelt before him in complete obeisance. Because in the face of that complete and absolute strength and those terrible and merciless methods, the only thing Zai Ji could do was beg. Bang, the profound imagery stone crumbled in Yun Chi's hand as he let out a low sigh. Senior Zai, please rise and you can rest easy as well. If my master truly wanted to kill the Sovereign of the Seas, she would already be dead. Jasmine's lips twitched as she dramatically rolled her eyes at Yun Chi. After that, she suddenly flung out her small hand. An ear-splitting slap that would be remembered by everyone present for their entire lives rang out across the sea god arena. Fengyi, who was 30 meters away, cried out miserably as she suffered from a slap that appeared out of the empty air. Her body that was wrapped in those sea blue skirts flew out like a revolving top. After she landed on the ground, she still spun tens of times before finally coming to a stop at the edge of the sea god arena. Fengyi crawled on the ground as she spat more than 10 mouthfuls of blood. Every mouthful blood brought along with it 2 teeth. Furthermore, all of her teeth had already been fractured. Not a single one remained intact. So, Sovereign of the Seas! The gathered venerable ones and elders had been scared witless as they cried out in alarm and rushed over to help her. Who dares to assist her? Jasmine gave a cold shout, and those 5 short words struck the gathered members of Supreme Ocean Palace like a divine lightning bolt. All of them froze in place, and they did not even dare to shift their feet an inch. HMPH, Jasmine said with a cold sniff of disdain before she spoke in a mocking voice. You are a cheap person with a vile heart and a worthless life, but you actually dare to call yourself the Sovereign of the Seas. This is truly a joke. Jasmine's words were not purely loathing and ridicule. Because from the perspective of the plane that she originated from, the profound sky continent was indeed a base and lowly plane. Besides Yun Chi, there was no one from the entire profound sky continent that was worthy enough to be graced by her eyes. She wanted to vent anger on Yun Chi's behalf. That was the only reason why she stooped to ridiculing and killing these people. In doing so, she had sullied her hands and tarnished her exalted status. As her cold voice fell, her gaze also fell on Xuanyuan Wentian. He had fully witnessed the miserable states of Xuanyuan Wentian, Yi Meixi, and Fengyi. Even though they had not died, every single one of them lost every shred of dignity and fame they had garnered in their lifetimes. So when Jasmine's gaze finally settled upon him, Xuanyuan Wentian's entire body shuddered fiercely as the color of his face alternated between gray and white. Jasmine stared at Xuanyuan Wentian, and even the faintest curve of her lips sent a chill running through his body. Her cold smile caused his very soul to convulse and spasm before she finally averted her gaze before blandly speaking. Do you know why this princess has not killed you? On this continent, the 4 of you are the so-called sacred masters, but to this princess, there are millions of people just like you. So even if there were a few million less of you, it wouldn't make a single difference. Not to mention your so-called 4 sacred grounds, even if there were millions of sacred grounds, this princess could destroy all of them with a twitch of my finger. To all of the people who were present, each and every one of Jasmine's words were extremely shocking, and they shook their hearts and souls to the core. But they had just personally witnessed her ripping apart tens of kilometers of space and destroying mighty Heavenly Sword region's northern region despite the 35,000-kilometer distance. Given her strength that resembled an ancient demon god's, those dreadful words were definitely not the least bit exaggerated when it came to her. But sparing your lives may be of some use to me, Jasmine said as her eyes swept across the audience. She did not punish Xuanyuan Wentian, walking to Yun Chi's side instead. Even though killing you would only be a matter of flipping my hand, this princess, disciple Yun Chi, is still not able to face you on his own. In any case, all of you can still be considered the strongest people on this continent. If you were to all die and leave Yuanqi with no opponents, then it would only harm his future growth. So the four of you should just wash your necks and wait. Live life while you still can, because once his strength has grown sufficiently, if he wants any of you to die, you will have no choice but to die. The gazes of Huanji Wuyu, Fengyi, Yi Meixi, and Xuanyuan Wentian all squarely fell on Yuanqi. It was indeed true that given Jasmine's strength, she could kill them as easily as she would squash an ant. However, even though she had done harm to them, she had not taken their lives. But to think it was so that Yuanqi could do it himself. She was allowing the four sacred masters to be whetstones for Yuanqi. That was also to say that from this moment onward, their lives would be firmly grasped in Yuanqi's hand. Once Yuanqi's power surpassed them, he would be able to kill them any time he wanted to avenge the grudge that had been formed this day. Furthermore, with a demon god like Jasmine instructing him, that day would definitely not be too far off. At the same time, as long as Jasmine was around, even if they wanted to escape this fate, it would be impossible. "What's more?" Jasmine said as her gaze grew cold and her voice turned cold and bleak, causing the temperature in the area suddenly drop. "There are quite a few people among you who Yuanqi has no small amount of hate and resentment for. But when it comes to something like vengeance, it is natural that one has to do it by himself." A deep and sinister cold shot up their spines and jabbed into their brains, before it spread out and seeped into every corner of their bodies and souls. This was especially true for Xuanyuan Wentian and Yi Meixi, because they had previous altercations with Yuanqi before what had happened today. So if they wanted to live, what they needed to do was to desperately appease and curry favor with Yuanqi. They needed to do so with all their might. If not, it was not only their lives that were forfeit, it might even bring about a disaster that wiped out their sacred grounds. Jasmine extended a hand and grabbed onto the sleeve of Yuanqi's clothes before speaking in a solemn voice. "Fengyi, the environment of your supreme ocean palace isn't bad. Yuanqi is still wounded, so this princess is prepared to let him rest here for 1 day longer. During this period, it would be best if you do not let this princess see anything that she does not want to see. HMPH, Yuanqi, let us be off. We shall return to the place where we stayed last night," Jasmine said in a haughty and arrogant voice. "All right," Yuanqi nodded his head as he carried Xiao Yun, Zuer Yuan, "but let's go." "Why, wait a minute, Yuanqi, hold on for a moment." The dreadful demon god girl was about to leave, and all of the people present, especially Huanji Wuyu, had breathed a heavy sigh of relief. But at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out asking them to stay. The shocked crowd hurriedly looked towards the origin of that voice. They wanted to see who had the guts to actually call for that dreadful demon god to stay, even though the person who was actually being called was Yuanqi himself. Astonishingly, the person who had actually called out to them was Feng Hengkang. Yuanqi turned around and replied, "Sect Master of the Divine Phoenix Sect, is there anything else I can help you with?" Feng Hengkang hurried over to stood beside Feng Zuer, but he did not dare look at Jasmine, and his voice was anxious as he spoke. "Yuanqi, weak cough. I handed Zuer over to you 5 months ago, and I said to you that once Zuer reaches the age of 20, as long as she has an inclination towards you, we would set a wedding date for the two of you at the same time. We will also fulfill the condition that the Blue Wind Empress had laid down. During these 5 months, Zuer has always been by your side, and 19 days from now, Zuer will reach 20. Zuer still has deep and unwavering feelings for you. When she found out you were trapped in the moon's slaughter devil nest, she tearfully kept watch over it every day, and she was not willing to leave even for a moment. If you still feel the same way about Zuer, then when 19 days have passed and Zuer has reached 20 years of age, what do you say to me setting your wedding date right there and then?" The moment he heard the last sentence, Feng Ziming, who was in the back, swayed violently and his eyes nearly burst out of their sockets. But the terrifying red figure besides Yuanqi scared him into complete silence, and the only thing he could do was clench his fists so hard that he nearly fractured his own bones. Yuanqi instantly understood what was going on. This sly old fox had seen with his own 2 eyes just how powerful Jasmine was, so he decided to shamelessly become a hanger-on. If Feng Zuer was married to Yuanqi, then even if the truth of the Phoenix God's death was publicly announced to the world, no one on this earth would dare to even touch the Divine Phoenix Sect. Feng Tianwei and Feng Zuqi's eyes were both sparkling with anticipation. They wavered between apprehension and hope. Their only fear was that Yuanqi would not agree. Feng Zuer naturally deciphered Feng Hengkang's intentions very quickly, and she anxiously and nervously cried out, "Royal Father, this matter?" "Zuer, Just as Feng Zuer had opened her mouth, she felt her small hand being grabbed by Yun Qi. He replied to Feng Hengkang in a most solemn voice. I, Yun Qi, will never in my lifetime betray the feelings that Zuer has for me. If the Divine Phoenix Sect Master is willing to betroth Zuer to me, I will gladly welcome it with open arms. Big brother Yun, Feng Zuer mumbled in a soft voice as she lowered her dainty head and hid her misty eyes. Ha 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 ha. Feng Hengkang's bundled and taut heartstrings relaxed once he heard those words, and he could not help but give a great laugh. Good. This is very good indeed. I, Feng Hengkang, have indeed not misjudged you. After that he turned around and announced in a great voice, My honored friends from the sacred grounds and the 7 nations, my little girl Feng Zuer and Yun Qi have had mutual affection for each other for several years, and a few months ago, we also made an agreement to betroth her to him. Today, my little girl will be 20 in 19 days. So in 19 days, my sect will be holding a grand engagement celebration banquet in Phoenix City. I hope all my noble and honored friends here will do me the honor of attending this event. Number Yen%, fuck me, this cunning old fox. Yun Qi silently cursed in his heart. He was indeed befitting of the title of the biggest emperor among the 7 nations. His skin was so thick that even the walls of the divine Phoenix City paled in comparison. Royal father? Feng Zuer yelled in shame and anxiety, but Feng Hengkang was already impatiently yelling out invitations, so she was helpless to do anything. If it were before today, the big powers of the 7 nations would have responded to Feng Hengkang's invitation, even if it was for a grand wedding, by sending a few important individuals to attend. But if even one elder from each of the 4 sacred grounds attended, they would have been showing enough face. At most, the ones attending would be on the level of Ling Kun or Jai Qianru, and that was for a grand wedding, not a mere engagement banquet. But this time, the circumstances were completely different, because the person whom Princess Snow was getting engaged to was Yun Qi. So without even mentioning the 7 nations, even if it were the 4 great sacred grounds, they needed to do everything they could to curry favor with him before he grew strong enough, just for the sake of survival. Furthermore, this engagement banquet would be the perfect opportunity to do so. Even if that person was a fool, he would realize it even if he was thinking with his buttocks. So the 4 sacred masters would definitely not miss out on a chance to personally attend, and they would even bring many precious gifts while trembling in fear and trepidation. Unless they did not want to live anymore. It was just like when a small power came face to face with one of the 4 sacred grounds. So just as expected, once Feng Hengkang had finished speaking, the sea god arena only lay silent for an instant before shouts of affirmation and flattery rang out from all sides. I congratulate the Divine Phoenix Sect Master. When the time comes, I will definitely come, definitely come. This old one will definitely attend with his entire family. Congratulations, congratulations. Princess Snow and Asgard Master Yun are simply a match made in heaven, so it should be an occasion that is celebrated by all. If we were to miss a grand event that would be the envy of the world, we would regret it our entire lives. The Divine Phoenix Sect Master has such an excellent daughter, and now he has gotten such an excellent son-in-law. It is truly, truly something to be envied by all. I am unaware of what would suit the taste of your honored daughter and Asgard Master Yun, so I hope that the Divine Phoenix Sect Master can advise me, so this little brother will be able to prepare. In the blink of an eye, the gathered hegemons of the profound sky continent had surrounded Feng Hengkang like stars surround the moon. Jasmine turned her head to glance at the commotion before giving a cold sniff and leaving in a huff. Zuer Yuanba, let's go. Yun Qi carried Xiao Yun as he hurriedly chased after Jasmine. This time, Jasmine did not scold him in a fit of rage, so it could be said that she was giving him a lot of face right now. That was strange. She has already been long aware of my relationship with Zuer. So why is she so mad all of a sudden? Could it be? No, it could not be that. She is jealous. Theoretically, that should not be possible, right? Other than that, why did Jasmine want to stay in Supreme Ocean Palace for another day? If it was to nurse his wounds, would it not be better to return to Floating Cloud City or Frozen Cloud Asgard? Bang! Yun Qi was lost in thought, so he did not control his own speed, and he ended up smacking headfirst into the back of Xia Yuanba, who was in front of him. Xia Yuanba turned around and asked him with wide eyes, "Brother-in-law, what's wrong?" "Oh, there is nothing wrong, nothing at all. I was just a little distracted. Xiao Yun should be waking up soon, so let's hurry back to Venerable Cloud Palace," Yun Qi said as he waved a hand. At the same time, the heavy, cold and bloody aura that pervaded the sea god arena had finally faded away following Jasmine's departure. Xuanyuan Wentian had been the only sacred master that had escaped Jasmine's punishment. At this moment, every corner of his robe had been soaked in cold sweat. The fact that he had come out of this entire affair unscathed still made him feel like he had survived a great calamity. The shock and terror in his heart lingered for a long time, but when his mind and heart had finally regained their calm, he realized that the main reason why he was safe and sound was because of Xuanyuan. Other than that, Ancient Blue had also stepped forward to plead Yunqi's case, and he was the only one among the 4 sacred grounds besides Xuanyuan who had spoken up for Yunqi at all. On the other side, Xuanyuan Wentian had already been supported by the members of Mighty Heavenly Sword region. Xuanyuan Wendao's face was still a ghastly white as he said in a pain-filled and teary voice, "Father, what are we going to do right now? What are we going to do?" Only Xuanyuan Wentian's left arm had been injured, and even though it was bloody and mangled, the bones had not been broken. To someone on his level, this was not a serious wound at all, and it would heal within half a month at most. But what was millions of times more dreadful than this wound was the feeling of humiliation and terror that settled over his heart like a devilish curse. His chest rose and fell violently before he rasped out in a hoarse voice, "Go, let's leave." The Devil's Sword Conference had been orchestrated by him, and everything had been going perfectly according to his plan. But in the end, all of his plans had been completely wrecked because of Jasmine's appearance. Mighty Heavenly Sword region and Sun Moon Divine Hall left the Sea God arena, and they left with gloomy and disconsolate faces, not bothering to bid farewell to anyone. Absolute Monarch Sanctuary had not left yet, because Jasmine was staying at the venerable Cloud Palace that they were also staying at. So they did not have the guts to immediately leave either. As for Supreme Ocean Palace, they remained frozen place as they trembled in fear, because Jasmine was going to stay for one more day. Sky Sword Heavenly Palace, Mighty Heavenly Sword region's largest profound arc, was several kilometers long. At this moment, this arc was flying back to Mighty Heavenly Sword region at the fastest speed possible. It was only that the atmosphere in the profound arc was unprecedentedly heavy. "Sword Master, are your wounds okay?" A Mighty Heavenly Sword region elder asked worriedly. The 3 sword attendants were dead. 25 elders had died as well. Among those were 7 elders ranked in the top 10 positions. Today, he had gone from the 5th-ranked elder in Mighty Heavenly Sword region to the top person after the Sword Master. This was truly a sorrowful tragedy. When they thought back on everything that had happened on Supreme Ocean Palace's Sea God Arena, it still seemed like the most ridiculous and absurd nightmare. "My wounds are fine. She had never planned on killing me from the start. She did not even deal me a serious blow." Xuanyuan Wentian's left hand pressed down on his right arm, but when he said these words, he did not rejoice at all, because the other party had done this so Yunqi could come and kill him in the future. It was equivalent to letting off a tool that still had some utility in the future. The word "she" caused all the remaining elders of Mighty Heavenly Sword region to shudder violently. The terror and dread that had yet to subside once again reared its head like an awakened devil in the depths of their soul, causing them to feel cold all over. "Sword Master, that person? Just who is she? In this world, how can such a terrifying person exist?" Xuanyuan Ju said in absolute shock and terror. Before the Devil's Sword Conference, he had lashed out at Yunqi in fury due to the fact that he had known all of Yunqi's trump cards and secrets. So he had desired to kill Yunqi in front of everybody. When he thought about his actions now, he realized that the fact that he was still alive was practically equivalent to picking up a free life. "I don't know," Xuanyuan Wentian said as he shook his head, his face the color of dead ash. His expression did not contain the slightest bit of arrogance or intimidation that it usually had. "But she definitely isn't a person from this world." "Not a person from this world? That point isn't important." Xuanyuan Wentian looked at Xuanyuan Wentian with sunken brows. "Wentian, after she destroyed our northern region at the Sea God Arena, she did not pursue the question of who killed Xiao Ying in floating Cloud City all those years ago, because she already knew that it was you, so she saw no need to ask further." What? Xuanyuan Wentian was immediately so shocked that all the color drained from his face. "HMPH, Xuanyuan Wentian said through gritted teeth. "After she asked that question, you were so scared that you could not even maintain your balance. Given her terrifying level of power, how could that escape her notice?" Then what do we do? What do we do?" Xuanyuan Wentian muttered, his whole body going limp in fright as his legs shivered uncontrollably. HMPH, Xuanyuan Wentian said with a dark expression. Well, who is to blame for all of this? We can only blame your stupidity, leniency, and self-inflated arrogance. When Xiao Ying was being stubborn, you merely killed him and left it at that. However, you did not perform a soul search, nor did you kill his entire family as well. If you had done so, there wouldn't be today's Yunqi, and today's calamity would not have happened either. Xuanyuan Wentian was so shocked and terrified that he was tottering on the edge of collapse, and he was unable to formulate any words. Sword Master, we can't pin all the blame for what happened all those years ago on the young master. Xuanyuan Ju cautiously said. Who would have thought that a small fry from that tiny floating cloud city would actually be Yun Qinghang's sworn brother? Even if it were this old one, if I heard that he had come into contact with Yun Qinghang, I would not have seriously thought that I would get any useful information from him in the first place, much less wasting my energy to do a soul search or destroy his entire family. Moreover, young master is still young. Enough, you don't need to make any excuses for him. Xuanyuan Wentian's brows were furrowed so deeply that they had practically knit together. Wentian, after you have experienced today's events, do you finally understand why your father has chased after power at any cost his entire life? In this world, only those who hold absolute power hold absolute authority. They can easily decide the fate of other people, and our lives are held at their whim and fancy. It was because that person held absolute power. That is why even I, Xuanyuan Wentian, was only fit to be a dog that could be kicked around in front of her. Father, then what should we do now? What should we do? Could it be that we can only wait for death? Xuanyuan Wentian was completely out of his wits. As the mighty heavenly sword region's young master, he had never known the meaning of the word danger until today. But now, he had suddenly felt that most dreadful shadow of death descend upon him. Waiting for death. Why should we wait for death? Fresh blood flowed freely from between Xuanyuan Wentian's fingers as he spoke in a fierce tone. Wentian, have you forgotten all the lessons I have imparted to you from your childhood till now? You are my son, the son of Xuanyuan Wentian. You must continue living on. Forget your integrity and forget your pride. In the face of survival, all of those things are absolute dog shit. Even if you suffer the most abject humiliation. Even if you sacrifice all of your dignity and honor. Even if that means you have to be on your knees begging for your life. You must live on, because it is only when you are still alive that possibilities will open up to you. Xuanyuan Wentian was completely stunned by those words for a while before he spoke in a shaky voice. Father, you mean? Xuanyuan Wentian sucked in a deep breath before speaking. 19 days from now, Princess Snow and Yunqi will be engaged. At that time, we as father and son must personally attend and prepare the biggest present we possibly find, along with all of our dignity. As for the matter of you killing Xiao Ying all those years ago, even if you have to discard all dignity and drop to your knees to beg, and even if you have to kowtow tens of thousands of times, even if you have to let the people from the Xiao family who want to take vengeance on you trample on you and abuse you like a defeated dog as long as Yunqi doesn't kill you, there is nothing you will not do, nothing you will not endure. The strength of a man is not measured by how many resources he has at his disposal. It is measured by how much humiliation and indignity he is able to suffer. If you can do these things, then when the time comes, I, your father, will be able to immediately hand mighty heavenly sword region into your hands without a single worry in the world. Xuanyuan Wentian's word caused Xuanyuan Wentian to tremble even more violently. He nodded with a blank expression on his face. Father, I understand now. Jiyuding, dispatch some men to keep a constant lookout for any movements made by Fen Juchen. Yes, Sword Master. Xuanyuan Jiyuding replied in a gloomy and dispirited voice. Supreme Ocean Palace. Once they had returned to the venerable Cloud Palace, Yunqi gingerly placed Xiao Yun on the bed. After that, he placed his right palm over his forehead, and he transferred the energy of heaven and earth that was gathered by the great way of the Buddha into Xiao Yun's body at an extremely slow pace. Even though Xiao Yun's soul had not been damaged, it had been greatly exhausted. If Yunqi did not aid his recovery, he would remain unconscious for a very long period of time. He wanted Xiao Yun to wake up sooner so he could bring him back to floating Cloud City. Jasmine glanced at him before turning her face away and facing her back towards him. At the same time, she faced her back towards the extremely nervous Xia Yuanba and Feng Zuer, who had both just entered the room. Xia Yuanba's hand kept tensing up, and he opened his mouth several times before closing it again, as he simply did not know how to address Jasmine. After being tormented by doubt for a good period of time, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Even though Yun Qi had said that she was even younger than he was, in the end, she was still Yun Qi's master. So that naturally meant that she was Yun Qi's senior, no matter what age she was. And if she was Yun Qi's senior, that also meant that she was his senior. Xuanyuan resolved himself immediately and opened his mouth to speak, but his voice was still fraught with nervousness. "Sen, senior, junior Xia, both of you get out." Jasmine did not even turn her head to look at them as she issued a command in that icy voice of hers. Xuanyuan and Feng Zuer instantly froze in place as they shot miserable and pitiful looks at Yun Qi that begged him for help. "Zuer, you should return to your royal father's abode first. He must definitely have a lot of things to say to you. Yuanba, go and say thank you to Senior Ancient Blue on my behalf, cough. My master is not really used to seeing people other than me. Furthermore, it is very likely she has some very special things to discuss with me right now," Yun Qi said as he felt a headache coming on. Even though Jasmine's personality had been subtly changing over the last few years, the one thing that remained absolutely the same was her haughtiness. There was nothing in the profound sky continent that was worthy of entering her vision, forget about people. She had even spoken to the dragon god spirit and the golden crow spirit in a clearly disdainful manner. "Ah, all right, all right." Xuanyuan nodded his head vigorously in panic. "Little sister Zuer, let's be off then." "MNNN?" Feng Zuer obediently responded. She had long ago been severely frightened by Jasmine's aura and vicious ways when they were still at the Sea God Arena. She had been so afraid that her beautiful face constantly blanched in terror at Jasmine's deeds. Xuanyuan and Feng Zuer left with anxiety and nervousness filling their hearts. Yun Qi spoke to Jasmine with a forlorn and reproachful expression on his face. "Jasmine, can't you be just a little bit gentler? If it's just Yuanba, that would be fine. But what if you scare my Zuer silly? HMPH, what do their lives or deaths have to do with me?" Jasmine said disdainfully. Yun Qi shrugged his shoulders before looking Jasmine up and down. His eyes lit up as he said, "Jasmine, your reconstituted body is really exactly the same as your old one. There are practically no changes at all." "Yes, that's right. Why don't you let me touch your body to check if it feels the same as before?" "Get lost." Jasmine slapped Yun Qi's arm away before nervously retreating 2 steps. After that, her delicate eyebrows arched and her expression became as wooden as plank. "Because of your lifeline's abnormality, the perfection of my new body does indeed exceed my expectations, and it will also last far longer than I had initially predicted. There won't be a problem for at least another 30 years. As long as we are able to find a perfect netherworld Udambara flower in the next 30 years, then there won't be any issues after that." "Jasmine, there is something that I'd like to ask you again, your strength. Just what level is it at?" Yun Qi said in a very sincere voice. As he remembered her world-shocking actions at the Sea God Arena, his eyes unconsciously widened by a few degrees as he continued. "Mighty Heavenly Sword region is at least 35 to 40,000 kilometers away from here, but you were actually able to? That is because the space in this place is too weak," Jasmine said disdainfully. "The space is too weak?" Yun Qi asked in a puzzled voice. "The laws of space on this planet are extremely low-grade and inferior, so I would be able to instantly traverse 500,000 kilometers with a snap of my fingers, much less shifting something over a mere 35,000 kilometers of space." Jasmine's voice did not change at all. It was as if she was talking about the most common thing in the world. "If it were on the world that I was born on, given my present strength, it would not be possible for me to replicate that feat." Jasmine turned around before continuing, "Let's change our tack here. Given your present strength, you are able to collapse a large swathe of space with a swing of your sword, even when you aren't using your full strength. If you were on a world where the laws of space were much more superior and higher grade, for example, the world that I was born in, even if your profound strength was 10 times stronger than it is at present, you would not even be able to cause the space there to distort a little, even if you were to attack at your full strength, much less cause it to collapse." Yun Qi's mouth gaped open. His heart was filled with shock. At the same time, he noticed that Jasmine had said, given her current strength. "Then you, right now, what percentage of power do you currently possess compared to your peak?" Jasmine looked at her own hand, which was as snowy white as fine jade, before lightly balling it into a fist. "Not even 10%. At number percent, Yun Qi silently sucked in a breath of cold air. This was not even 10% of her power, and it was already so terrifying. Then just how powerful would a Jasmine with all of her strength actually be? Could it be that there were a bunch of monsters just like her in the world that she had come from? However, once my body has been reconstituted, my strength will also quickly recover. Given the present state of my body, I will only need a year or so to recover my full strength. Jasmine said this in an extremely casual voice. Her diamond-hard pupils did not reflect the least bit of joy. Then, after he spoke that one word, Yuan-Chi found that the rest of those words were jammed in his throat, and he was unable to utter them. He wanted to ask Jasmine just one question. Now that her body had been reconstituted, and she no longer needed to rely on his life to survive, what did she intend to do from now on? Would she return to the home she left 7 years ago, or would she? He did not dare to ask this question, because he was afraid that he would hear the answer that he dreaded the most. Then, why did you say you wanted to stay in Supreme Ocean Palace for one more day? Yuan-Chi asked a completely different question, but his voice had become exceptionally unnatural. Jasmine's eyes slowly turned as she faced towards the south, her crescent brows faintly tightening. I want to pay the Moon Slaughter Devil Nest another visit. Now that my body has been reconstituted, and I am no longer a spirit body, the devil energy in the Moon Slaughter Devil Nest will not affect me in any way. So I need to go and take a look, and find out exactly what has been releasing such a high-grade darkness energy. South of Supreme Ocean Palace, the island that once stood had been completely destroyed. However, the deep blue seal was still complete and floated above the sea, completely isolating the Moon Slaughter Devil Nest. A dimensional crack suddenly appeared in the skies above the barrier, and a red-haired, red-dressed young girl slowly walked out. Other than a boundless, vast ocean and the barrier that has stood for 10,000s of years, there was nothing else in the area. As Jasmine descended right above the barrier, she casually waved her hands. Rip! This sealing barrier that boasted to be the strongest in the profound sky continent had cracked like it was the most fragile piece of paper under Jasmine's casual wave, and did not regenerate for a long time. Jasmine emotionlessly stepped in, and only when she had completely entered had the crack in the barrier seal itself instantly. At the same time, within the venerable cloud palace of Supreme Ocean Palace. Knock, knock, knock. Outside, the careful sounds of knocking and even more careful sounds of Xuanyuan rang. Brother-in-law, my master wishes to meet your master. Would it be convenient? Yuan-Chi, who was currently helping Xiao Yun recuperate his soul power, stood up, walked over, and directly opened the door. He saw Xuanyuan and Spiritual Master Absolute Blue standing there extremely cautiously and replied seriously. Spiritual Master Absolute Blue, Yuanba. My master has some business and has just gone out. Please come in first. Phew! Hearing that Jasmine was not around, Spiritual Master Ancient Blue's face became visibly relieved. It was obvious that he did not want to see Jasmine. He cupped his hands together and replied respectfully. If that's the case, this Ancient One shall not intrude anymore. When your respected master is back, I have to trouble you to help convey the Sacred Ground Saint Emperor's thanks for letting him off also. The Saint Emperor is extremely regretful and ashamed of what happened today. Although he wished to personally come and apologize, he felt that he did not have the face to face you, which is why he sent this Ancient One here. In the coming days, the Saint Emperor would definitely bring many gifts to come and seek forgiveness. If you have any requests in the future, the Saint Emperor and the entire Absolute Monarch Sanctuary would definitely do their utmost to help. The highly respectable spiritual master of the sacred grounds acting so respectfully in front of him. Even if Saint Emperor Huangji Wuyu personally came, it would undoubtedly be the same. This was the extent of fear Jasmine commanded. Yuan-Chi quickly returned the goodwill. Senior Ancient Blue does not need to do this. Today, among the 4 great sacred grounds, only Senior Ancient Blue spoke up for Junior, and this is something Junior will always remember. As for the Saint Emperor, although he treated me heartlessly first, on account of his kindness and appreciation of Yuanba, I can quickly forget how heartlessly he treated me today. However, it's only this one time. Then, I shall thank little friend Yun's magnanimity. I believe the Saint Emperor will also firmly remember little friend Yun's graciousness. Spiritual Master Ancient Blue secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He did not expect the few words that he said for Yuan-Chi would reap such rewards. Because of the relationship with Xia Yuanba, he came into contact with Yuan-Chi several times, and they could be considered to be on good terms. After what happened today, even Huangji Wuyu's attitude towards him changed vastly. After calming down, Huangji Wuyu sat down and thought carefully. The fact that he did not end up in as pathetic a state as the three other sacred masters was definitely because Yuan-Chi sent a sound transmission to the girl to ask her to let him off. This was the only explanation, and the reason for that was naturally because of Yuanba. Almost everyone knew that Yuan-Chi was a person who bore grudges. However, anyone that understood Yuan-Chi would also know that he was a highly loyal person. Even though Xuanyuan Wentian had treated him heartlessly first, when he thought about Xia Yuanba's identity and position, he still chose to let Xuanyuan Wentian go, at least in terms of actions. Little friend Yun, is it possible to let me know your honorable master's name? When spiritual master Ancient Blue asked this question, he was extremely cautious, as though he was afraid that Jasmine would appear at any time and be unhappy with his question. Jasmine's appearance caused the four great sacred grounds to nearly shit their pants in fear. But since the beginning to the end, nobody even knew what her name was, only that she referred to herself as this princess. Yuan-Chi hesitated for a moment before replying apologetically, "I do not know whether she's willing to tell others her name. When she returns, I will ask for her permission." Spiritual Master Ancient Blue hastily replied, "It's this Ancient One who is too abrupt." "That's right, little friend Yun, I heard that you were injured." The Saint Emperor specially asked this Ancient One to deliver the sacred grounds, myriad flower sacred heart dew. This dew is our sacred ground's most precious medicine for treatment. It takes 300 years to produce one, and right now, within our sacred ground, only 3 bottles remain. As he spoke, Spiritual Master Ancient Blue took out a tiny jade green bottle, and an unusually aromatic smell wafted faintly into the air. With one sniff, Yuan-Chi could already tell that this object was not normal. If the effects were satisfactory, he only needed to examine the medicinal properties before he can make it for himself using the Sky Poison Pearl, just like the Overlord pellet. Yuan-Chi, of course, did not stand ceremony and accepted it with a casual thanks. If so, then this Ancient One shall not nag anymore. Oh right, Saint Emperor has said that during little friend Yun and the Divine Phoenix Princess Joyous occasion 19 days later, he will personally attend and seek your forgiveness in person again then. When Spiritual Master Ancient Blue and Xia Yuanba left, and Yuan-Chi went to see them off, just as he was about to completely close the door, he saw Zai Jai hurrying over. Zai Jai, who saw Spiritual Master Ancient Blue, stopped and conversed with him for a while before approaching Yuan-Chi with hurried footsteps. Even if Yuan-Chi used his toes to think, he would be able to figure out the reason Zai Jai came. Therefore, he could only open his room door and took the initiative to speak. "Senior Zai, how are the Sovereign of the Sea's injuries?" Zai Jai's expression immediately turned awkward before he laughed bitterly. "I still have to greatly thank your revered master for showing kindness. This old one had originally come here to express his gratitude for your master, but just now when I met with Spiritual Master Ancient Blue, I learned that your revered master was not around." The revered Sovereign of the Seas, having all her teeth shattered with one slap from Jasmine. What's worse was that she lost all her might and reputation. Now Zai Jai still had to pathetically come over to offer thanks and strengthen relationships. Although it could be said that Fengyi deserved it, it still had to be noted that this was the strength of absolute power. Even if it was the 4 great sacred grounds, and even if they were gnashing their teeth in hatred, they had not choice but to act obediently. "There's no need for thanks. She would not be bothered with it at all. She might even complain that it was annoying," Yuan-Chi replied. Yes, at the level that your master is at, today's matter is probably no longer in her mind." Zai Jai hastily added, "Sai, actually this old one came here today in order to apologize to you on behalf of the Sovereign of the Seas. The Sovereign of the Seas had originally wanted to come personally, but her injury is on her face, making it somewhat inappropriate to meet people. Furthermore, she knows that she does not have the face to see you, so she sent this old one to do so on her behalf. Regarding today's matter, it is my Supreme Ocean Palace that has treated you shamefully. As long as we can reduce the hatred in Asgard Master Yun's heart, any request by Asgard Master Yun would be handled with full effort by our Ocean Palace." Zai Jai's words were completely sincere, but in Yuan-Chi's heart, he did not feel one bit satisfied, nor did he feel his anger subside. He only felt extremely dejected. If it were not for Jasmine today, would any of them feel any guilt? Would they be so afraid? Just before Jasmine appeared, every single word that Xuanyuan Wentian and Fengyi had said remains etched clearly in Yuan-Chi's heart, especially their hideous faces that were revealed after he exclaimed that the mirror of samsara was on him. At that time, where was their guilt? In Yuan-Chi's heart, he knew clearly that the main purpose of the Saint Emperor and Sovereign of the Seas sending Ancient Blue and Xianxia was to test out his attitude towards them. After all, those words that Jasmine had said meant that the fate of the four sacred masters lay with Yunqi. Furthermore, it was the fate of their immediate future. For Huangji Wuyu, because of the relationship with Xia Yuanba, he could say that he was going to forget it. However, for Fengyi, he was not that magnanimous to directly forgive someone who wanted to put him to death. All right, this junior will remember Senior Xianxia's words. Currently, Junior is still injured and needs to concentrate on recovery. I won't keep Senior Xianxia any longer. If there's nothing else, Senior may take his leave. Xianxia's brows moved slightly as he sighed in secret and took out a small, shiny purple box. If that's the case, the old one won't disturb you any longer. This is the sea god pellet that belongs solely to my ocean palace. It is a profound pellet made from the stone dragon shark, the largest sea beast in the vast ocean, as well as the guts of 10 different sea beasts and 900 different types of herbs found in the deep ocean. Because the stone dragon sharks are rare creatures that are low in quantity and difficult to capture. Every single sea god pellet is a rare object that everyone desires, and it is the most supreme treasure of our supreme ocean palace. It can cure thousands of poisons and can aid in the swift recovery of vitality. It is also extremely beneficial in aiding profound cultivation. This is a small gift from the Sovereign of the Seas. Asgard Master Yun, please do not reject it. All right, this junior gives his thanks. Yunqi directly stretched his hand and took the pellet. Gifts from Supreme Ocean Palace were things that Yunqi could take with a peace of mind. If that's the case, this old one shall take his leave. During the engagement ceremony between Asgard Master Yun and Princess Snow, this old one will come with the Sovereign of the Seas to congratulate you. Farewell. Xianxia left, taking out the myriad flower sacred heart dew that Ancient Blue gave him and the sea god pellet that Xianxia handed over. Yunqi let out a long sigh. When will I ever be as strong as Jasmine? Perhaps not in this lifetime. All right, maybe not in the next lifetime either. Moon's Slaughter Devil Nest. When Yunqi came here previously, the place was illuminated by the purple light emitted by the netherworld Udambara flower. However, the current Moon's Slaughter Devil Nest was a sea of boundless darkness and ghastly silence. Even with Jasmine's eyesight, she would not be able to see anything in such an absolute darkness. However, with her powerful spiritual sense, every grain of sand was exceptionally clear. Jasmine kept walking forward until she reached the end of Moon's Slaughter Devil Nest and stood in front of the stone wall that had collapsed. Beyond the stone wall, layers and layers of extremely high-level dark energy was slowly overflowing, accompanied by a dangerous aura that caused even Jasmine's heart to tighten. Jasmine stretched out her arm, and a blood-red orb of light appeared on her palm. In an instant, every corner of Moon's Slaughter Devil Nest had been illuminated a blood red without exception. Stepping onto the red light, Jasmine went over the shattered wall, and her steps finally entered the dark world beyond the stone wall. On her very first step, Jasmine seemed as though she had been struck by lightning and stood rooted there. Because after she entered the world beyond the stone wall, relying on the red light in her hand. In just one glance, she had already seen the object that was emitting the dark energy and dangerous aura. She stared at the object, as her eyes that were slightly red shrunk and expanded at different intervals. Her body, however, was as though it has frozen as she remained completely still, or like she did not dare to move. Shocking, terrifying, surreal, unbelievable, and the uncontrollable trembling of the soul. Her current expression and gaze was something that even Yunqi had not seen before. Jasmine remained in this state for a very long time without movement or sound, as though her soul had left her body in shock. Only after more than 5 minutes had passed did a voice of great shock and seriousness come out of Jasmine's lips, as she uttered an absolutely frightening name that would even cause the ancient true gods and devil gods to tremble. Evil infants, wheel of myriad tribulations. The red light in Jasmine's palm disappeared due to her shock, but despite the absolute darkness within the Moon's Slaughter Devil Nest, the silhouette of a pitch-black roulette wheel still appeared clearly in Jasmine's eyes. Its body was pitch black, but perhaps its existence had already transcended darkness. Even in absolute darkness, she still saw it extremely clearly. It was like an open eye of a devil inside an endless abyss. Jasmine never thought that she would ever see the most terrifying experience within her inherited memories before her. Along with the memory she possessed, nearly all her fear was being concentrated on that image, and its name, Evil Infant's Wheel of Myriad Tribulations. From the start of the primordial era, bred using the most extreme negative energy from the primal chaos, and possessing the most yin and evilist energy, it was a terrifying existence that even the gods and devils feared. Though listed within the heavenly profound treasures, it was in fact not a treasure but the most frightening existence from the primordial dimension. Despite being ranked second within the heavenly profound treasure ranking, it, along with the heavenly punishing ancestral sword, were made simultaneously from two extreme energies. In terms of destructive power, it definitely did not pale in comparison with the heavenly punishing ancestral sword. However, due to the fact that the energy attribute of the heavenly punishing ancestral sword was sacred, and that of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations was evil, it could only be ranked behind the heavenly punishing ancestral sword. The last time it appeared, the outburst of energy as well as the release of the most vicious poison of the primordial world, myriad tribulations, eradicated all the gods and devils, causing the era of gods and devils to come to an end by extinction. Its might and terror was not something any current living being could imagine or comprehend. After the end of the era of gods and devils, it had disappeared along with the heavenly punishing ancestral sword and never appeared ever again. However, in the past million years, humans had never given up the search for the heavenly punishing ancestral sword as they hoped to possess its invincible, heavenly punishing power. However, no one had ever tried to search for the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, because it would only bring about the world's most frightening catastrophe. At this time, this frightening object that had vanished for 1,000,000 years now appeared clearly in front of Jasmine. No one would have ever thought that in the vast primal chaos, it would actually be hidden in a place like this. Even if a true god had seen it, he would still feel great fear from it. Needless to say, Jasmine, who had only inherited some of a true god's power. And from the inherited memories of the true god, all the information that she had regarding the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations was the characteristics of its external appearance and aura. What remained was purely ice-cold fear. Seeing it was as though she had seen the lowest level of hell. Jasmine had never been stunned for so long before, but after a long time, her willpower finally managed to suppress the insanely great fear. Because even though it was the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, its aura was really far too weak. It was so weak that its aura couldn't even compare to her current incomplete strength. Otherwise, she would not have remained in the moon's slaughter devil nest this long. Suppressing her fear, calmness and coldness gradually returned to Jasmine's eyes as she started to step forward once again. One step, two steps, gradually approaching the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. With her approach, the pressure that came from the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations had hastily reduced instead. HMPH? The corners of Jasmine's lips lifted as she uttered in a cold voice that sounded as though she was mocking. The heaven-defying object that existed since the beginning of primordial times, the one that ended the era of gods and devils, ended up in such a pathetic state that now even a human being like me can easily overcome your deterrence. From the initial great shock to her latter calmness, together with everything that has happened within Moon Slaughter Devil Nest, Jasmine instantly understood why the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign could exist beyond the extinction of gods and devils, and survived until now. All the mysteries surrounding the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign were instantly cleared up as well. No matter how strong the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations was, it was still an object and not a living being. If it wanted to release its full potential, it needed a living being as a medium. For a normal artifact, even if it possessed extremely strong spiritual consciousness and strength, it was still being controlled by a living being. However, for the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, its level and strength were far too superior. It could instead control the living being, or even devil. The Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign was precisely the being the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations had chosen. Or perhaps it was more accurate to call him a host. Millions of years back, all the devils that went into a frenzy due to being forced into a desperate peril had unsealed the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, allowing it to return to the world once again. After being sealed for so long, the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations had accumulated endless amounts of negative energy. Once it had escaped its restrictions, its energy burst out wildly, and it took the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign as its host. It then released the myriad tribulations that had the power to destroy heaven and earth as well as exterminate all gods and devils. Furthermore, the heaven-punishing ancestral sword, the only thing that could counter it, remained missing, so this led to the extermination of the gods and devils. As for the moon slaughter devil sovereign, since it was the host controlled by the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, he naturally survived as well. This was also why the moon slaughter devil sovereign said that he had to kill his own son in order to save him. He sealed his son's devil soul into the eternal night devil sword, because the moon slaughter devil sovereign and his sword were bound together. That was the only way to save his son's devil soul while he was under the destructive powers of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. After eradicating all the gods and devils, the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations powers fell drastically, perhaps even to the extent of being completely exhausted. However, other than the moon slaughter devil sovereign, one other god did not face extinction, and that was the evil god who did not fall immediately despite being poisoned with myriad tribulations. Although the strength of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations weakened drastically, the evil god still could not destroy it. In this world, there was nothing that could destroy it. As the host of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, the moon slaughter devil sovereign similarly could not be destroyed by the evil god either. Therefore, all the evil god could do was to use all of its remaining strength and seal the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations along with the moon slaughter devil sovereign, and hope that a prolonged seal could eradicate the moon slaughter devil sovereign's existence. This was also the reason why the moon slaughter devil sovereign had only been sealed by the evil god for millions of years and not killed by him back then. It wasn't that the evil god didn't want to, it was because he couldn't. Within the vast primal chaos, the location of the sealing had actually been the profound sky continent located on this mediocre-looking blue pole star. The seal left behind by the evil god was no simple seal. It also possessed strong, devouring powers. In the millions of years of being sealed, the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations was constantly being devoured by the evil god's powers. Its already heavily consumed powers were being weakened further, and it even lost control of the moon slaughter devil sovereign, which meant that he was no longer its host, and they became independent existences. This was also why the moon slaughter devil sovereign had suddenly said that the evil god's seal destroyed this king's devil body and devil soul, but also allowed this king to regain freedom, since it was no longer the host of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. The moon slaughter devil sovereign naturally lost its protection and suffered from the same devouring powers of the evil god, causing his vitality and soul origin to be greatly damaged. The contract with the moon slaughter devil sword was also terminated as well, allowing the sword which possessed his son's devil soul to become an independent existence as well. Eventually, 10,000 years ago, the power of the evil god's seal had finally extinguished, allowing the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, the moon slaughter devil sovereign, and the moon slaughter devil sword to break loose. However, due to suffering from the devouring powers of the evil god for 1,000,000 years, the soul force of the moon slaughter devil sovereign had become exceptionally weak. Originally, it would not have taken long for him to be completely destroyed, but he was luckily found by the founding ancestor of Supreme Ocean Palace, then sealed within the moon slaughter devil nest. Therefore, within Supreme Ocean Palace's seal, it relied on the dark aura emitted by the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, as well as the netherworld Udambara flower that came into existence to survive, until he was killed by Xianxia. The moon slaughter devil sword fell into profound sky continent and built the eternal night royals. Even the weak seal that remained had been destroyed during the devil sword conference today. However, even if the remaining devil soul had not dispersed, it had already weakened to a pathetic extent. As for the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, after its seal had been destroyed, it continued to remain there, slowly releasing an extremely high-level but weak darkness aura. In the past, it had eradicated all the gods and devils. Today, it was in such a weak and pathetic state that it could only remain in the dark plains, never to see the light of day once again. Before, the moon slaughter devil sovereign was the biggest shock and mystery in Jasmine's heart. But now, when she saw the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, even without anything else, all the mysteries had already been solved. This was the only reason and only explanation. However, The reason for all of this was far more frightening than all of what Jasmine had imagined, because it had involved the most terrifying object in the entire primal chaos realm. Jasmine stopped and stood in front of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, her eyes refracting the dark glow that made the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations seem like a pitch-black abyss. She slowly said, "After the end of the era of gods, numerous people speculated about the location of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, and even more people tried to figure out what the evil god did before he had fallen. I never imagined that I would actually become the first person in the world to find out the answer." Jasmine slowly lifted both her hands, and a deep red ball of light silently gathered between her palms. The Golden Crow Divine Spirit mentioned that this was the first planet the evil god created and the place he fell in the end. I even wondered before, why this planet that the evil god personally created and looked high upon has so few resources and has such a low, profound aura level. So the root of the problem is actually here. It was so that even if you managed to escape the seal one day, in a world with such scarce energy concentration and being such a low-level world, you would never get the chance to recover your energy quickly. The evil god sure was meticulous. If the evil god cannot destroy you, I naturally cannot as well. But with my current strength, sealing you at an easy feat. Jasmine's expression was overcast as the red ball of light between her palms darkened to a dark red color. If I use up all of my energy, I can seal you for 3,000 to 4,000 years. Sniff. The dark glow on the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations shook. In Jasmine's mind, a shrill yet soft voice which seemed to possess a feeling of being wronged, sadness, and pleading rang out, sounding similar to a baby's cries of helplessness. "Please save me." A meek voice that caused one's heart to shatter in sadness pleaded softly, 3 short words, yet they sounded quite shaky along with that overly tender voice. It sounded like an infant that had just learned how to speak. Jasmine's eyebrows knitted together. Her body froze slightly as she immediately uttered with a cold face, "I would have never expected that the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations that caused even gods and devils to cower would actually beg for help from a pathetic human like me. Please, save me, bring me, away from here." The infant's voice brought more begging and even a slight hint of weeping. "Save you?" Jasmine laughed coldly. "Not unless I'm crazy. You are the most terrifying, most evil, most vile existence in this world. In the past, even the gods and devils were driven to extinction by you. If I were to take you away and allow you the chance to regain your strength, the world would definitely be once again consigned to eternal damnation. Not just me, even if the most evil person in the world found you today. Knowing that you're the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, he would undoubtedly use his full effort to seal you and would never allow you the chance to see sunlight again." "No." The baby's voice now brought about more sadness and weeping. "I'm not that evil, I'm not a bad child. I only want to leave this. It's so dark, so cold, and it's always so quiet." The voice of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations caused the image of a tender infant to naturally appear in a person's mind. Its helplessness and sad begging was enough to even touch a stone-hearted person and make him feel compassion. However, Jasmine was not one bit moved. "You don't have to try and trick me anymore. At the start of the primordial era, the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations was born from the most extreme negative energy, and you represent the most sinful of power. Millions of years back, when you escaped from your shackles, you exterminated all the gods and devils, destroying an entire era. But now you're telling me that you're not a bad child. HMPH, laughable. That's only the attribute of my power. The energy can be positive or negative, but it does not differentiate between the divine and evil. I only killed them then, because they locked me up for so many years. What I feared the most was darkness and loneliness, so I hated them, killed them, so no one would bring me into that dark and lonely world again." Jasmine's expression was slightly moved, but her consciousness kept on warning her that the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations voice would undoubtedly possess hidden evil and wicked bewitchment. However, the voice this time still touched a deep part of her heart, because the anger, fear, and sense of being wronged within the voice were extremely real. She could not detect anything fake about it. Furthermore, only the truest of feelings could actually touch a person's heart. When it spoke of killing all the gods and devils, the feeling it gave Jasmine was like a child who had been bullied, and was now seeking angry and willful revenge against those who hurt it, and made it feel loathing and fear, just as the thoughts had appeared for some time. Jasmine was suddenly shocked, and instantly removed such thoughts from her mind as she laughed coldly. "You are named the evil infant. But do you really think that I would be so idiotic to think that your soul is only that of a baby? You're the most evil object in this world. You don't have to waste your effort anymore. I will immediately reseal you. From today onward, I will come back every few thousand of years to strengthen the seal. Even if I were about to die, I would find someone before my death to succeed me and continue the mission of sealing you and not allowing a sinful existence like you to see the sun ever again." Sniff! The infant's voice turned into a cry, and the cries were exceptionally heart-wrenching as it wept. "Why won't you believe me? Then, A creepy black mist rose in front of Jasmine, and within the black mist, the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations turned into a creepy black light and entered between Jasmine's brows. Jasmine lifted her left hand. On the back of her hand, a small and shallow imprint of a black wheel appeared gradually. Staring at the imprint of the black wheel of the back of her hand, Jasmine laughed in disdain. "Do you still think you're the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations that eradicated the gods and devils back then? With your current strength, do you foolishly hope that you could make me your host? You doing this has only made it easier for me to seal you." As she laughed coldly, Jasmine began gathering her energy to try and force the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations out. I didn't." The infant's voice appeared perturbed as it hastily replied. As long as you are willing to bring me away from darkness and loneliness, I am willing to submit to you." "Submit to me?" Jasmine was shocked before she coldly replied. "What a joke. You're the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. Along with the heaven-punishing ancestral sword, you both are at the highest levels of existence in the primal chaos realm. Even a god cannot control you, so how would you be willing to submit to a mere human? As long as you can bring me to the outside world, so I don't have to face darkness and loneliness, in the future you'll be my master. If you fear my power, then when you become my master, you will no longer have to worry that my power would harm you. HMPH, you're the only willing party. Since when have I agreed to you?" Jasmine straightened her petite arms, and the red ball of light from before gradually gathered in front of her. "You should just obediently stay in your eternal darkness." Jasmine's palm flipped downwards, as she was about to force the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations out before forcefully sealing it. However, just as her palm had flipped slightly, she suddenly stopped and her expression changed slightly. After a prolonged silence, she gradually withdrew her hand and even dispersed the red light she had gathered for some time, and which also possessed frightening strength. She lifted her left arm and coldly said, "If you were to make me your master, you'll be controlled by me in the future. I can bring you away from here but would never call you out ever again. Even so, are you willing?" Jasmine's words made the infant's voice excited and agitated. As long as I no longer have to be trapped within darkness and loneliness, I will listen to you." No one would believe that such a voice had come from the world's most evil and terrifying evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. They would only think of it as a baby's pathetic and pitiful begging. Jasmine's expression and action froze. After debating with herself for a very long time, did she finally, gradually and seriously nod. "All right, if that's the case, then let's set the cruelest master and slave contract. Me as master, you as slave. Unless I cancel the agreement myself, you can only be controlled by me for all eternity, unable to betray me. That's the only choice. You can choose to accept this or choose to be resealed by me." As her ice-cold voice finished speaking, a red light flashed between Jasmine's brows and contractual powers shone onto the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. Furthermore, it was the star god realm's cruelest master-slave contract. What shocked Jasmine the most was that the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations did not show any hints of hesitation or rejection, but instead had unexpectedly accepted the contract quite happily, as though it was a caged bird that had suddenly regained freedom. Black light instantly flashed past Jasmine's eyes. The black wheel symbol on the back of her left hand turned exceptionally deep and flashed several times before it gradually disappeared. "From now onward, you're no longer the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations that eradicated the gods and devils. You now belong to me and are my artifact." Jasmine's words were said with seriousness and sternness, but her eyes appeared dreamy. She would never have thought that a cruel contract that even the lowliest of humans could not accept would allow her gain a slave, like the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations without obstacle. This was an existence that even caused the gods to fear it. seeing the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations and becoming its master. This seemed like the most absurd dream. What was even weirder was that from the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, other than the star god's fearful memories and images she saw when she first encountered it, she could not feel any cunning, fear, or evil. Instead, she felt patheticness, helplessness, and sadness. Was all this just a false image? Or was the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations really just a childish baby? Childish to the point where it killed all the gods and devils in anger. Childish to the point where it would want to escape from darkness and loneliness at all costs, even if it meant falling from a status that was beyond devils and gods to be the servant of a pathetic human. "Yes, master," the infant's voice replied with respect. There was no hint of shame or unwillingness, only joy at being able to leave the darkness and loneliness. Jasmine suddenly changed her mind because she thought that if the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations was willing to regain freedom at all costs, it would act in the same way towards others as well. Then, if it were to land into another person's possession, the outcome would be unimaginable. And for this evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, when it regained its powers, it would result in a huge catastrophe that was unimaginable and uncontrollable. If it were willing to be enslaved, then, if she enslaved and controlled it, she would not have to worry that it might fall into the hands of a fool or someone with ulterior motives. She could still ensure that it never reappeared again. Jasmine inhaled deeply, regaining her composure. "Remember what you just said. From today onward, you can look at the outside world with me and never have to face loneliness. However, I will also never summon you out. You need to know that if it were to be found out that I am the owner of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, I would instantly become the #1 enemy of the primal chaos realm. Amen, I will always listen to Master's words." The voice was tender and a bit shrill, like that of an obedient child. "All right, now tell me, what thing or method would allow your powers to reawaken?" Jasmine coldly asked. The reason she asked that was definitely not to try and recover the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations' strength, but instead to avoid any possibility of doing so. "I only belong to Master right now, so only Master can influence my strength. Master's anger, resentment, killing intent, bloodthirst, hatred, jealousy, and guilt. These negative emotions will aid my growth. Especially so if Master's negative emotions were suddenly strengthened to a certain point, then there would be the possibility my powers reawakening." The evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations answered without hiding anything. Jasmine heaved a hidden sigh as her lips revealed a slight smile. "Then it's a pity your powers will never reawaken ever again. Now, I shall bring you away from here like you wanted. From today onwards, if you're even a tiny bit disobedient, I will immediately reseal you into darkness and loneliness," Jasmine said in a stern voice. However, at the same time, she also knew that with the cruel master and slave contract, the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations could never be disobedient even if it wanted to. Even though Xuanyuan's mind had received some damage, there were no obvious external wounds on his body. Once his breathing had gradually regulated itself, Yuan-Chi breathed a small sigh of relief as he removed his hands from his temples. At this time, a red light flashed in front of him as Jasmine's exquisite figure appeared in front of him like a spirit. "You returned so quickly," Yuan-Chi said in shock as he stood up. Jasmine had said she wanted to stay in Supreme Ocean Palace for another full day, so he thought that it would still be quite a while before she returned. "We can leave now," Jasmine said with an indifferent expression. "Right now?" Yuan-Chi's mind was shaken as he hurriedly asked. "So you're saying that you have already found out what was releasing that devil energy in the depths of the moon's slaughter devil nest?" "I did indeed find out, but it's better if you didn't know," Jasmine said as she turned her dainty face to the side. Given Jasmine's current expression and tone of voice, Yuan-Chi knew that Jasmine would not give him the details on what happened no matter how much he pestered her. So pursuing the matter any further would just be wasted breath. The truth behind this affair involves things that are far beyond your understanding, Jasmine said as she gave him a bland look. "This is something that I am unable to tell you or anyone else. It is something that only I can know." "It's that serious," Yuan-Chi muttered as his gaze turned blank for a moment. "You should worry about yourself first," Jasmine said with sunken brows. "Haven't you discovered that there is something extra nestled in your profound veins?" "I noticed it," Yuan-Chi said as his expression tightened. "Last night, I discovered it when I was in the middle of healing my injuries. Just what is that thing? Why is it fused with my profound veins?" Yesterday, Xianxia had used all of his strength to kill the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign. After the deed had been, all of his profound energy had been exhausted. He had been heavily wounded all over, and his 5 senses had grown incredibly weak. So even though he noticed that the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign did something to his body before he died, he was not clear on what the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign had done. After that, he had fainted dead away. Last night, when he was healing his own injuries, he suddenly discovered, to his astonishment, that there was a round orb that was wrapped up by red light nestled in his profound veins. Xianxia was exceptionally familiar with that red light, as it was Jasmine's power. Jasmine's power was incomparably tyrannical. It had completely sealed away the object that it surrounded, and not a thread of energy leaked out. However, what caused him the most bewilderment and shocked was that even though this thing existed in his profound veins, he still did not feel the slightest bit out of sorts. If he had not inspected his profound veins when he was healing himself, he would not even have discovered its existence. It was as if it had completely merged with his profound veins, forming a perfect marriage with his evil god profound veins. "Devil Origin Orb," Jasmine said in a rather serious tone. "Devil Origin Orb. When the devils of the primordial devil race are first gestating in their mother's wombs, they start out as a devil origin orb. After that, the devil origin orb will begin to form the devil body, devil soul, and the devil god origin energy." Jasmine walked in front of Xianxia and pointed at his heart area, checking if any changes had occurred to the devil origin orb that she had sealed away. In other words, a devil origin orb is the source of a devil's life, soul, and power. That is also why it is called Devil Origin Orb in the first place. When you put it that way, it sounds an awful lot like the profound core of a profound beast, Xianxia said in a doubtful voice. "You can choose to understand it that way," Jasmine said as she moved her hand away from Xianxia's chest, her face grave and serious. "Why would the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign want to insert his Devil Origin Orb into my profound veins? Could he be thinking of using the power of the Devil Origin Orb to destroy my profound veins? Also, profound veins naturally repulse all foreign energy, and that applies even more to foreign objects. Moreover, this is the evil god profound veins we are talking about. But the feeling that Devil Origin Orb is giving me is that it has merged with my profound veins, and I can't feel any resistance from my profound veins towards it. What's up with that?" After the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign had flung out his Devil Origin Orb, he had quickly succumbed to death. If not, he would still be able to struggle on for a while more. Furthermore, when Xianxia recalled the words he had said when he had flung out his Devil Origin Orb, he could not help but shudder as a chill coursed through his body. Pathetic human being, who has also inherited the power of the evil god. This king will sacrifice his Devil Orb in order to consign you to eternal damnation. Xianxia, you're right. It definitely shouldn't have been so easy for a Devil Origin Orb to merge with your evil god profound veins. I suspect that it was because your level of profound strength is too low coupled with your weakened state due to your severe injuries. Those two things combined probably left you too weak to resist, so your profound veins were unable to prevent the Devil Origin Orb from forcefully merging with them. Jasmine did not sound entirely sure of herself. Even though Xianxia was weak, these were the evil god profound veins they were talking about here. It was something that was on the same level as a Devil Origin Orb. Even then, because of how strong the evil god had been, the level of the evil god profound veins should have exceeded the level of the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign's Devil Origin Orb. In any case, they should not have been so easily invaded and should have at least shown some signs of resistance. Especially because, as the profound veins of a god, they should have an extremely strong repulsion towards anything devilish. But other than this, she could not think of any explanation. As for the purpose behind the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign's action, my best bet is that he wanted to use the devil energy that would be released by the Devil Origin Orb to gradually erode you from the inside. Also, since it merged with your profound veins, even if there was a way to remove it, it would definitely deal severe damage to your profound veins as well. If you let it remain, even though it will be profound energy that your own profound veins will release, you still have no ability to control darkness profound energy. So this will only end up with you being racked by pain until you meet a gruesome end. These were also just Jasmine's guesses. But in the end, she was not a devil, and she had never seen a true devil besides the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign. So her understanding of the Devil Origin Orb came solely from the star god's memories she had inherited. and as a result, she only had the most shallow understanding of it. So that means there is no way to get rid of it. Jasmine pondered that question for a moment before replying blandly. My understanding of the Devil Origin Orb isn't much better than yours. Moreover, it has already fused with your profound veins, so I don't dare make any rash moves. Furthermore, given my current strength, there is no way I can get rid of a true Devil's Devil Origin Orb. The only good thing is that the power of this Devil Origin Orb has nearly completely withered away, so I can easily seal it away with my power, causing it to be unable to release dark devil energy. But my seal will last for at most 2 to 3 months. After that, I will need to seal it again. Ah, then that's all right, isn't it? Jasmine's words had not only not caused Xianxia to get anxious, it had actually calmed him down quite a bit instead. That means I'll have to rely on your power to reseal this Devil Origin Orb every 2 to 3 months. Jasmine rolled her eyes at him as she spoke huffily. An object that can take your life at any time has been buried within your body, yet you can still laugh about it. So what if there is? As long as Jasmine is around, why would I need to be concerned? Xianxia looked at the girl in front of him as he smiled merrily. Now that I think about it, 7 years ago, you had been struck by a devilish poison. So you were forced to abandon your body, and you had to rely on me to survive on as a spirit body. Right now, your devilish poison has been completely purged and you have reformed your body, so you no longer need to rely on me. But now it's my turn to rely on you for my survival. Jasmine. Xianxia leaned forward as he tried to portray a piteous appearance. For the past 7 years, I have never abandoned you or given up on you. Right now, I've been harmed by the Devil Origin Orb of that moon slaughter Devil Sovereign. So if you don't take care of me, I'll die in just a few months. You definitely won't abandon me and leave me behind, right? HMPH. Jasmine's delicate and tender arms shot out in front of her as she gave a cold sniff of extreme disdain. But after that, she suddenly changed the subject. How are you going to deal with Xuanyuan Wentian and the rest of them? Xuanyuan Wentian is an extremely dangerous man. He also indirectly caused the death of my grandfather and nearly killed my parents as well, so I'm definitely not going to let him off. Xianxia's eyebrows sunk. His son, Xuanyuan Wentian, was also the one who killed Xiao Ying, the chief architect behind the Xiao family's tragedy. So there will come a day when I personally cripple him and hand him over to grandfather and Xiao Yun to deal with. Sun Moon Divine Hall was also among those who pursued my parents all those years ago, nearly causing us to lose our lives, so I definitely won't let them off either. Xianxia's tone grew softer after that. As for Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace, even though Huangji Wuyu and Fengyi have indeed earned my scorn, it is not to the extent where I can't let go of it. Furthermore, Yuanba is also involved. I think that you have already taught them a lesson today on my behalf. Deal with them as you please. Jasmine said in a seemingly unconcerned and indifferent manner, the only thing I care about is when you will be able to kill them using your own strength. You should know why I spared their lives this day. Xianxia raised a hand to his jaw as he descended into thought. Jasmine, you kept urging me to get stronger in the past because my level of strength affected whether you could reconstitute your body or not. Right now, it seems that you are still very anxious to see me get stronger. That's because you're my disciple, Jasmine yelled sternly. In my lifetime, I will only have you as my disciple. So if my disciple can't even beat a bunch of mere sovereign profound realm trash, then what dignity will I be left with? HMPH. Jasmine's voice stopped abruptly, and she merely followed it up with a cold sniff. Sovereign profound realm trash. Countless profound practitioners in the profound sky continent did not even dare dream of reaching the sovereign profound realm, but in Jasmine's eyes, the people who had reached this level of strength were mere trash. You don't need to worry about it, Xianxia said as he took a deep breath. From the moment grandfather left this world, I made a vow in front of his corpse that I would personally administer vengeance on his behalf. Just for the sake of taking revenge on behalf of grandfather, I will definitely execute Xuanyuan Wentian myself. Furthermore, if I want to execute Xuanyuan Wentian, I won't just need to beat him alone, I will need to face the entire mighty heavenly sword region as well. Good, Jasmine said as she slowly nodded her head. Then I will give you 24 years. Within 24 years, you need to achieve enough strength to kill Xuanyuan Wentian and level all of mighty heavenly sword region. 24 years? Why must it be 24 years? Xianxia asked in a faintly astonished voice. Because the netherworld Udambara flower within the moon's slaughter devil nest will bloom again 24 years from now, Jasmine said in a calm voice. At that time, I will personally pluck it myself, and then my body and soul will be able to achieve perfect unison. After that, I will leave this place and return to the place I belong. If you still don't have enough power at that time, your only option will be to die at the hands of Xuanyuan Wentian or Yimeixi. Other than that, it should probably take me 24 years to figure out how to release you from the scourge of the devil origin orb. After she said all of this, Jasmine had unconsciously turned away from Yun Qi, so that he would not see the deeply complex emotions that twinkled in the depths of her starry eyes. Even though her back was facing Yun Qi, she could still clearly feel those agitated emotions that he was unable to control. Good. 24 years worth of time, I definitely won't let you down, Yun Qi said vigorously, nodding his head. Even though he was extremely good at concealing his feelings, at this moment, Yun Qi could not stop his joy from seeping into his every word and action. After Jasmine had successfully reconstituted her body, the thing he was most afraid of was her departure. In the past, she had mentioned more than once that the moment she had gotten rid of the devilish poison and reconstituted her body was the moment she would leave. She had also said that she would leave for good and that he would never see her again, because she was someone who completely did not belong to this world. But now, Jasmine had personally told him that she would be with him for at least another 24 years. In the face of this joyous occasion, even the devil origin orb, which was nestled in his body and could rob him of his life at any moment, seemed completely insignificant. Well, I hope that's the case, Jasmine said as she assumed the air of an aged expert and conducted herself with the confident attitude of a master. Return with Xuanyuan to Floating Cloud City first. From today till the moment you celebrate your engagement ceremony. HMPH, with Feng Zuer, focus on recovering your health and profound strength completely. I will not allow you to slack off for even half a day. I'll immediately go call Zuer and Yuanba, Yun Qi said excitedly as he rushed outside. As the sound of the door slamming shut rang out behind her, Jasmine turned around and looked at the door, which blocked Yun Qi's departing figure from her gaze. The frosty haughtiness in her eyes slowly faded, and what replaced it was a blurry mistiness. Just what am I? Yun Qi brought along Xia Yuanba, Feng Zuer, and the still unconscious Xuanyuan with him, as he used the primordial profound arc to travel from Supreme Ocean Palace back to Floating Cloud City. Ever since Xuanyuan had disappeared, the atmosphere within the entire Xuanyuan family had been one of fright and anxiety. Number 7 under heaven would spend the days weeping away. She was not able to sleep or rest under these conditions, and she was nearing the point of collapse. She brought along number 1 under heaven with her as they embarked on a wild goose chase without rest or respite. But after they had received the news from Frozen Cloud Asgard, they had all gathered within Xuanyuan's small courtyard after noontime. They waited patiently there as they hovered between anxiety and hope. Once Yun Qi appeared, Xianxia, number 7 under heaven, and number 1 under heaven rushed towards him. Once number 7 under heaven saw Xuanyuan, whom Yun Qi had been dragging along with him, she let out a great cry of joy as she staggered into his arms. After that, she started wailing uncontrollably, and she did not speak for a good long while. "Little Qi, is Xuanyuan?" Xianxia asked in an extremely anxious and tense voice. "Don't worry, he's all right," Yun Qi said with a faint smile. "Seventh sister, I'm handing Xuanyuan back to you right now. For the next few days, his mind will be very exhausted, and he will need to sleep for 14 to 16 hours every day. Other than that, he hasn't even lost a single hair on his head, and after 8 to 10 days, he will be good as new. So you can stop worrying now," Yun Qi said with a relaxed expression on his face. If a genius doctor like Yun Qi said that there would be no problem, then there definitely would not be a problem. Number 7 under heaven wept and smiled with joy and emotion as she tried her best to wipe the tears from her face. "Big brother Yun, thank you. We are once again. Xuanyuan and I are brothers. Saving him is only natural, so what is there to thank me for?" Yun Qi said with a grin. "Now, why don't you hurry up and carry your dearest brother Yun back to your room? Oh, right. Don't forget to tell grandfather as well. He is definitely worried sick." "Amen." Number 7 under 7 replied loudly before she picked up Xuanyuan and scampered off. "Brother Yun, just what exactly transpired?" Number 1 under heaven spoke in a low and grave voice as he strode to Yun Qi's side. The anxiety and pressure that had been building up in him for the last few days had left him with a bellyful of rage and ire. "It was all due to my negligence," Yun Qi said with a low sigh. "I had thought that I had left no gaps, but I never would have thought. I grossly underestimated the 4 sacred grounds. It was them after all." Number 1 under heaven exclaimed as he gritted his teeth tightly in rage. But you don't need to worry, everything has been settled now. Even if you continue to stay, there won't be any danger. After Xuanyuan has woken up, I'll tell all of you exactly what happened. Chinachu notice. I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so, but Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Chinachu problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder. Xuanyuan woke up the night they returned to Floating Cloud City. Furthermore, his mental state seemed to be relatively fine, so Xuanyuan and Number 7 under Heaven's worries were relieved. Yunqi recounted the travails behind Xuanyuan's kidnapping and all of the events that had transpired in Supreme Ocean Palace. He included most of the details, including Jasmine, his status in the illusory demon realm, the fact that Number 1 under Heaven's identity had long been exposed to Supreme Ocean Palace, and also how that wily old fox, Feng Hengkang, conveniently seized the opportunity to announce his engagement to Feng Zuer in front of everybody and invite them to the engagement ceremony. But he did not bring up the fact that he already knew who killed Xuanyuan all those years ago. The curtain of night deepened and Xianxia dragged Yunqi out of the courtyard by herself. She meekly lowered her head and spoke in a rather apprehensive voice. Little Qi, there is one thing that I've been hiding from you all this while. Actually, Fen Juchen has been staying here for the past 2 months. Huh, Yunqi said in astonishment. 2 months ago, a few people discovered him when they were out of the city. At that time, his wounds were extremely heavy, and he seemed to be barely clinging to life. So I got Big Brother under Heaven to bring him into the Xuanyuan household, and I also instructed them not to tell you. Xianxia grew anxious as she continued speaking. Little Qi, I didn't mean to hide it from you, but it's just that both of you, whenever you and Fen Juchen meet, there will always be a big clash. You are my little Qi, but he is the person who saved my life. I don't want a single thing to happen to either of you, so that's how it was, Yunqi said as he faintly nodded his head before blurting out. No wonder I kept detecting faint traces of Fen Juchen's aura every time I visited over the last 2 months. For the past 2 months, he has always been here, recuperating from his wounds. Every time he knew you would be back, he would go hide himself, and he would only return once you had left. After he had recovered from his injuries, just like you, he said that he would be going to Supreme Ocean Palace to participate in that Devil Sword conference. It's just that he left much earlier than you did, Xianxia said as she looked at Yunqi in anxiety and fear. However, she discovered that Yunqi did not look the least bit angry. Little Qi, I've been hiding this from you all this while, but you're not going to blame me. Why would I blame you? Yunqi asked. You are my little aunt, and who knows better than me what kind of person my Xianxia is. If you had met a heavily injured Fen Juchen and didn't do what you did, I would actually feel that it was weird. From our youth till now, you've hidden very few things from me, but every time you did it, it was definitely for my sake. This time is no exception. The anxiety in Xianxia's heart completely melted away and a smile bloomed on her face. When he was recovering from his injuries here, I was the one who took care of him. We even became sworn siblings, and I recognized him as my big brother. He even promised not to try to kill you anymore. Actually, Big Brother Fen really isn't a bad person. He is simply too lonely. Yunqi stood there in stunned amazement for a while, before he slowly nodded his head. No wonder Fen Juchen did not express any murderous intent towards me when I met him in Supreme Ocean Palace. He is indeed a very lonely person. That is also the reason for why his hatred has always been so incredibly bone-piercing and pure, especially when it comes to me. You could even say that he hates me to the very core of his being. To be able to resolve a grudge of this magnitude, Xianxia, I dare say that you are the only person in this world that could accomplish such a thing. For him to meet such a person who truly cares for him like you is not only a huge boon and a source of warmth, it is also his salvation. Yunqi's voice gradually lowered as he remembered his past self. His past self was indeed quite similar to Fen Juchen, but the only difference was that Fen Juchen's hatred-filled heart had quietly melted away. Xianxia had saved him, and he had also saved himself. However, in Yun Qi's case, "Wait a second," Yun Qi said with a start as he suddenly recalled something. His eyes widened into saucers as he exclaimed, "You and he, the both of you became sworn siblings." "That's right." Yun Qi's reaction had given Xianxia a fright as she anxiously replied, "Little Qi, you don't approve?" "That's not the important part," Yun Qi said with a scrunched-up expression. "No, this can't continue. From now on, I will be determined not to call you Little Ant anymore, and I will only call you Lingxi from now on. If not, won't I be his junior then? That is intolerable." "PFFFTTT," Xianxia pursed her lips as she giggled. "That's fine, right? Look, I am also Xiao Yun's and number 7 under Heaven's Little Ant, right? But I still call number 1 under Heaven Big Brother under Heaven." Yun Qi smacked his forehead. He was at a complete loss for words. Actually, I prefer for you to call me Lingxi," Xianxia said as she dipped her dainty head. Under the curtain of night, Yun Qi could still see her snowy cheeks stained with that incredibly adorable and pretty red blush. "But in front of Father, you still need to call me Little Ant. Or else, Xianxia did not know how to continue after that. "Actually, there is something I hid from you as well," Yun Qi suddenly blurted out. "Ah," Yun Qi spoke in a somber tone, "I actually already know the identity of the person who killed Uncle Xiao Ying." "Ah," Xianxia exclaimed as her head jerked up and she asked in an urgent voice, "Who was it?" "The power that supports that person is extremely huge, and given my present strength, I am still unable to face them. If I tell Grandfather right now, it will definitely cause him no end of worries, making him anxious and restless. So I didn't tell him. However, once I have sufficient power, I will definitely capture him alive and bring him here. Leaving him for Grandfather to deal with this grudge is something that has been plaguing him for years. It is the greatest frustration in his heart. He will only be able to resolve it if he personally deals with it." Xianxia gave a gentle nod of her head. "Yes, it would be better to not tell Father about this right now. Other than that, there is also one other reason," Yun Qi said as he gave a faint smile. After that, he put on a mysterious expression as he spoke in an extremely soft voice. "Grandfather watched the both of us grow up, so if I suddenly mentioned that I wanted to marry you, it's very possible that he'd beat me to death. But if we wait for him to vent his frustrations and resolve all of his regrets, he may not be so angry anymore." "Ah," Xianxia's breath was caught in her throat, but after that she spoke in a testy fashion. "You have Xia Qingyu, you have your Empress wife. You have one little demon empress in the illusory demon realm, and soon, you and Princess Snow are going to, any single one of them is at least a few thousand times better than me. How would you even find the time to care about me? HMPH?" After she gave a very loud sniff to express her dissatisfaction, Xianxia turned around and ran off so Yun Qi would not see the look in her beautiful eyes. Yun Qi faintly smiled as he looked at Xianxia's back until it vanished from his sight. He raised his head and looked towards the starry night sky above floating Cloud City as he muttered to himself in a soft voice. Time has really flown by. It's already been 7 years now. At this moment, he was very calm. Because as long as he was being protected by Jasmine's great power, he did not need to worry about anything, be afraid of anything, or scheme about anything. There was nothing that was able to threaten him or the people around him anymore. Even the 4 sacred grounds would have to bow their heads trembling in fear in front of him. Now that he thought back on the last 7 years, he realized that most of the debts he accumulated were emotional ones. "Little fairy, I will definitely find you this time around. Linger, I will come to the Azure Cloud continent to find you soon and bring you along with me so that I can pay you back in this life for all the things that I owed you in our previous lives. Kei, I know that you are definitely pining for me in the illusory demon realm. Once Zuer and I finish our engagement ceremony, I will bring Zuer, Yuer, and Lingxi with me and return to you. And Qingyu, just where did you disappear to after that?" He would grow stronger under Jasmine's guidance, till the point where he could personally kill Xuanyuan Wentian and contend against the 4 great sacred grounds. Even though it would be pure fantasy for anyone else to grow strong enough to contend with the 10,000-year-old powers that were the 4 great sacred grounds within the span of a short 24 years. Yun Qi was convinced that with his physique, bloodlines, profound veins, and profound arts, which all far exceeded that of a normal human being, along with Jasmine's personal guidance, those 24 years would be more than enough. In fact, he might even be able to reach that goal in 10 years. Once that happened, He would become a truly unrivaled existence in the profound sky continent, and once he had resolved all his grudges and fulfilled all his desires, there would be no one with the ability to threaten him anymore. Whether it was the profound sky continent, the illusory demon realm, or the azure cloud continent he was about to visit, he would be free to do whatever he wanted, and he would not need to fear anything or anyone. Furthermore, all of the people that were important to him would be safe under his protection until the end of their days. The reason why he had so desperately pursued strength in the beginning was to achieve this end after all, however. Only 7 short years had passed, and this goal, which seemed like it would take a lifetime of hard work to accomplish, was now something that was nearly within his grasp. One could even say that it had practically been achieved. "Jasmine, with you around, I can't possibly face any more dangers in this life any longer, so there shouldn't be any great upheavals anymore," Xianxia muttered in an inexplicably melancholic voice. "What? Did you love how it was in the past, where you might only be left with half your life at any given second?" The air rang with Jasmine's sour and grumpy voice. "Of course not, it's just that. It simply doesn't feel real to me right now. What am I supposed to do from now on? Continue to be the Asgard master of frozen cloud Asgard, or return to the illusory demon realm to be some demon lord? Or—" Xianxia was at a loss before he suddenly changed the subject. "Jasmine, are you really not prepared to let grandfather and the rest meet you? They are especially curious to know how you look like." "HMPH?" Jasmine gave a cold sniff before ignoring him completely. Xianxia stayed in Floating Cloud City for 3 days, and he then stayed in Blue Wind Imperial City for another 3 days. After that, he returned to the snow region of extreme ice so he could speed up his recovery. Furthermore, Xia Yuanba and Feng Zuer had departed to return to Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and the Divine Phoenix sect, respectively. Xianxia only discovered that the entire sect knew about what exactly had happened at the Devil's Sword Conference after he had returned to Frozen Cloud Asgard. Furthermore, they were not the only ones who knew. In fact, the entire profound sky continent now knew about what had happened at the Devil's Sword Conference. Even the engagement ceremony that was being held for him and Princess Snow was something that had been announced to the entire profound sky continent. Furthermore, this announcement carried such weight and prestige that it was completely unprecedented in the profound sky continent. This led the nobility of the 7 nations and the other powers to mobilize all their manpower to feverishly prepare for the event, regardless of whether they received an invitation or not. The only thing they feared was that they might be even the slightest bit negligent. This event created such a huge impact in the profound sky continent that it was practically equivalent to the illusory demon realm after his impending marriage to the little demon empress had been announced. And this was merely an engagement ceremony at that. However, Xianxia was not the least bit surprised when he heard the news. Because in a world where power was king and the 4 great sacred grounds were held up as insurmountable existences, anyone would be able to understand what it meant if an existence that could completely suppress the 4 great sacred grounds appeared. It would be this world's unconditional king, an existence that could not be slighted or offended at any cost, an existence that one had to curry favor with and fawn over at all times. In addition to this, the great powers and the nobility of the other 6 nations and all of the big sects in the Divine Phoenix Nation itself were historically under the thumb of the Divine Phoenix sect as well. So this time they would not allow themselves to show any sign of neglect. Furthermore, the Divine Phoenix sect, which was secretly in great peril as well, would definitely not pass up this opportunity. They would spare no effort or cost to make this engagement ceremony as grand as possible, so they could build momentum for this event and make it even more well-known. They wanted every single person who lived in the profound sky continent to know about it. With Xianxia's master around, they had a huge support who had frightened the 4 great sacred grounds into complete silence. They no longer needed to be constantly worried about whether the death of the Phoenix God would be leaked to the world. Xianxia first examined the profound strength of the frozen cloud disciples, one by one, in order to confirm that there were no negative side effects left behind by the Overlord pellets. After he was finished with that, he began to concentrate fully on his recovery. In frozen cloud Asgard's environment, his injuries, profound strength, and his phoenix and golden crow blood were recovering at a fast rate. However, Jasmine could tell with a single glance that he had not yet been able to enter a state of true focus. "What nonsense are you thinking about now? Could it be that you're afraid that someone will suddenly descend from the heavens and attack you?" Jasmine said as she suddenly appeared, catching Xianxia unawares. Xianxia opened his eyes and hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. "Jasmine, your current power vastly exceeds the power that your soul body had, correct? So it should also be possible for you to easily find where little fairy is currently, right?" Jasmine calmly averted her staring eyes away from Xianxia as she spoke in an apathetic voice. "I said before that my current power is not even 1/10 of my full power. Xuanyuan's profound energy aura is too weak, and there are far too many living creatures on the profound sky continent. Given my current state, I will not be able to differentiate her aura from all the others so I can find her. At least, I will need to wait until I recover about half of my power." "Oh." Xianxia did not continue any further. He merely gave a simple grunt of assent. Jasmine did not let Xianxia see the look in her eyes, so she also did not see the change that occurred in his eyes. Xianxia had always remembered that Jasmine had initially said that as long as the devilish poison was purged from her body, she could easily divine Xuanyuan's location. Furthermore, she was very clearly referring to the power of her soul body at that time. But after the devilish poison had been cleansed, Jasmine, who was able to use the power of her soul body at will, said that she had overestimated her power once she gave it a shot, and that she did not have the ability to find her. She also said that she would be able to do so once her body was reconstituted. But now that she had reconstituted her body, she once again said that she needed at least half of her power to do so. He did not call her on this. He did not dare. Instead, he used the greatest determination he could muster to force himself to believe that Jasmine really did not have the power to do so at the moment. If he did not call her on it, he could still strive to hold on to that beautiful hope. Once he did call her on it, it was possible that the dream would be completely shattered. As the person who understood Xianxia the best, how could Jasmine not sense what Xianxia was thinking? For the past few years, Xianxia's greatest desire was to find Xuanyuan. But a full 7 days had passed since Jasmine had reconstituted her body, and during these past 7 days, Xianxia had not once taken the initiative to ask her to use her current power to find Xuanyuan. So it was clear that he had sensed it as well. Jasmine's heart felt strangely heavy, and this heavy feeling made her feel like it was hard to even breathe. She took a small breather before speaking in a relaxed voice. "Even though I still am not able to locate a person amongst billions of living creatures, I will still be able to easily lock on to the location of the Azure Cloud continent. So it might just be possible for me to directly find the place that you went to previously under the power of the remnants of the evil god's soul, if I remember correctly. It was a place called the country of Supwake in the Azure Cloud continent. To be specific, it is a place in the country of Supwake called the Grandwake Mountain." Xianxia gave a faint nod of his head. Jasmine had recalled it perfectly. The place that he had visited the last time when he and Xia Qingyu had entered that dreamscape was indeed under the Grandwake Mountain in the country of Supwake. Su Linger was the daughter of the sect master of the Grandwake sect, Su Hengshan. Jasmine did not finish her sentence. Instead, she closed her eyes, and her incomparably strong sense instantly spread out as it enveloped this huge world with a strength that Xianxia would not be able to comprehend. 50,000 kilometers, several 100,000 kilometers, 500,000 kilometers, several million kilometers. Right now, she would find out the location of the Azure Cloud continent and also provide some comfort to Xianxia. Jasmine's consciousness swept across the huge ocean before finally coming into contact with another continent that was located on this planet and was not the illusory demon realm or the profound sky continent. When it came to their proportions, the illusory demon realm was bigger than the profound sky continent, whereas this continent was smaller than the profound sky continent. As for the elemental laws, laws of nature and laws of order, she especially remembered them as they had aroused her suspicions the last time around, and they were exactly the same as the laws she had sensed all those years ago. Azure Cloud Continent? Its distance from the profound sky continent far exceeded Jasmine's expectations. It was also no wonder that nearly no records of the Azure Cloud Continent could be found on the profound sky continent. Jasmine did not withdraw her sense once she had found the Azure Cloud Continent's location. Instead, she focused her sense on this continent, because she had said that she wanted to find the location of the Grandwake Mountain in the country of Supwake. Xianxia had always desired to go to the Azure Cloud Continent, and Su Linger, who, as if in a fantasy, seemed to still be alive in this world, this was the only reason for his desire. Time silently flowed by. Xianxia could not feel any profound energy flowing from Jasmine's body, and he did not dare to disturb her while she was in an extremely focused state. 15 minutes passed by and Xianxia's eyes were fixed on Jasmine. At this moment, he suddenly saw Jasmine's body shudder as her eyes flew open. Within those enlarged pupils, he saw to his astonishment a deep shock and fear. "What happened?" Xianxia asked in an urgent and shocked voice. He was not mistaken. He had clearly seen the shock and fear in Jasmine's eyes. But what in this world could cause Jasmine to feel fear? Jasmine remained silent for a long time, her small bosom heaving violently. She finally sucked in a long breath after a long period of time had passed before speaking in an incredibly somber voice. "Xianxia, you told me before that you had ended your life in the Azure Cloud continent by jumping off a place called Cloud's End Cliff, correct?" "Yes," Xianxia replied as he nodded his head in a stupefied manner. "Why are you asking, though? Where is this Cloud's End Cliff located in the Azure Cloud continent?" Jasmine's voice was still somber and grave as she spoke. "Is it located somewhere to northeast of the continent?" Xianxia noticed. "I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so. But Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip, though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Xianxia problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder. Yes, Cloud's End Cliff is located in the mythical Abode Mountain Range, northeast of the Azure Cloud continent. The mythical Abode Mountain Range is located at the border between the country of Supwake and the Southern Sky Nation. Supwake is to the north and Southern Sky is to the south. Xianxia still held clear memories of his life in the Azure Cloud continent. After all, he had only left that place 7 years ago. "Jasmine, what happened? Why did you suddenly ask me about Cloud's End Cliff?" Xianxia asked with furrowed brows. Over the intervening years, he had told Jasmine bits and pieces of what had happened to him in the Azure Cloud continent. He also told her that he had been chased by countless huge sects within the Azure Cloud continent to Cloud's End Cliff. As he was not content to sit there and be killed, he forced himself to swallow the sky poison pearl before jumping off Cloud's End Cliff to his death. He was not puzzled as to why Jasmine would mention the name Cloud's End Cliff, because he had told Jasmine before that Cloud's End Cliff was the highest and most treacherous cliff in the entire Azure Cloud continent. Jasmine's sense had definitely discovered the tallest cliff in all of Azure Cloud continent, so the 3 words, Cloud's End Cliff, would naturally come to mind. But what had grabbed his attention was the look in Jasmine's eyes when they had sprung open. "The aura that place was giving off was rather strange," Jasmine said in a low voice. "Strange?" Jasmine turned around, her furrowed brows not relaxing in the slightest. "Tell me in detail everything you know about Cloud's End Cliff." Xianxia chewed on it for a while before replying. "Cloud's End Cliff is the most dangerous of the 4 deadly regions. Once you fell into it, your death was assured. Everyone who had attempted to explore Cloud's End Cliff did not live to tell the tale, no matter how strong the individual was. So Cloud's End Cliff was also known as the Death God's Cemetery. Its notoriety was known by everyone who lived in the Azure Cloud continent, and very few people would even go near that area. When I had been forced into that desperate situation all those years ago, I had escaped to Cloud's End Cliff with the resolve to die. That is also to say that no one has ever seen what the bottom of Cloud's End Cliff looks like. Nobody ever has," Xianxia said as he nodded his head in affirmation. "This is also why Cloud's End Cliff is known as the Death God's Graveyard. According to common logic, once someone reaches the Emperor or Tyrant Profound realm, even if it was a fathomless abyss, they should still be able to scale it by traveling down the side of the cliff's wall until they reach the bottom. Furthermore, once you reach the level of a monarch, you can simply jump down and there isn't a chance that you will fall to your death. But in the history of the Azure Cloud continent, many strong individuals have attempted to find out what is at the bottom of Cloud's End Cliff, and there were no lack of thrones or overlords among these participants. But the moment they embarked on their expedition, not a single one returned alive. After that, there were even 3 monarchs who attempted to scale the walls of the cliff and reach the bottom, but they were never heard from again. From that time onward, no one dared to try to search the depths of Cloud's End Cliff. Jasmine, what's wrong? Yuan-Chi asked once again. Jasmine did not reply him, but she asked her own question in a low voice instead. After you jumped off the edge of Cloud's End cliff all those years ago, did you notice anything strange? In other words, did you happen to see what the bottom of Cloud's End cliff looked like in that moment? Even though it had not left any impression, Yuan-Chi tried his best to recall something. In the end, he shook his head and said, "Not at all. I had lost consciousness as I was falling, and my eyes were closed even before I had lost consciousness. When I woke up after that, I had once again returned to the profound sky continent." Jasmine descended into silence once more. After that, her eyes shone with suspicion as she said, "It looks like I have no choice but to personally pay that place a visit." "You want to go to Cloud's End Cliff?" Yuan-Chi asked in a shocked voice. Jasmine had already made her decision. "The aura being given off by that place is definitely abnormal, so I need to go and take a look. You don't need to ask me any more questions right now. After I have paid that place a visit, I will naturally return and tell you about it." Before Yuan-Chi even had a chance to reply, a red light flashed before his eyes and Jasmine's figure had disappeared from his sight. Icy winds blew gustily in the air above the snow region of extreme ice. Jasmine, who was wrapped up in the snowy winds, had a grim expression on her face. When she had initially arrived on this planet, the only impression it had given her was that it was an extremely low-level and inferior world. If not for the fragments of memories in the evil god's indestructible blood that stated that the evil god's seeds had fallen on this planet, she would never have condescended to visit this place. But not long after she had arrived, the devilish poison on her body violently acted up, and both her body and soul were nearly destroyed. It was then that she met Yuan-Chi. After that, as she spent more and more time on this world, she began to realize that this world was far less simple than she had initially thought. This was a world that was created by the evil god. It contained the legacies and inheritances of many gods, the sky poison pearl and mirror of samsara, two of the heavenly profound treasures, were on this planet as well, the moon's slaughter devil sovereign, and even the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations were sealed in this world. Even if the other facts were disregarded, 3 of the 7 heavenly profound treasures had been found on this planet. Just this fact alone would cause all the god realms to stumble over themselves from this world-shaking shock. Furthermore, when she was suddenly inspired to delve further into the Azure Cloud continent, she discovered an extremely strange aura. The shock it gave her was no less than the shock she experienced when she realized that the profound sky continent was hiding a primordial true devil, the moon's slaughter devil sovereign. "The distance is too far, so it looks like I'll need to expend some energy this time." Jasmine muttered to herself in a low voice as a cluster of red light gathered on the tip of her finger before she thrust that finger forward. A soft ring filled the air as the red light that flashed through the sky cut open a neat and flat rift in space. Jasmine walked into this rift as the space instantly changed. Once she had emerged from the spatial rift, she was already above a dark blue ocean, which was 500,000 kilometers away from the snowy region of extreme ice. Jasmine's finger flashed forward again as that red glow sprang forth once again, and a second spatial rift appeared before her. Jasmine silently entered it, and the moment she appeared again, she had once more traversed 500,000 kilometers. She made 3 consecutive spatial rifts in this manner. After crossing a distance that would be unfathomable by the profound practitioners of the profound sky continent 7 times, Jasmine no longer saw the blue ocean in front of her. Instead, she saw a gloomy mountain range that seemed to extend into the very heavens. The mountain range was huge, but there were very few profound beasts, and there was very little life in the area. Jasmine could not see a single human figure even though she looked into the distance. Jasmine's eyes swept across her surroundings before she looked down and muttered in a low voice, "Clouds End Cliff." The tallest 2 mountains in the Azure Cloud continent were found in the mythical Abode mountain range. These 2 mountains were so tall that their summits peaked into the clouds and they soared high into the sky. They were approximately the same height, and both of them stood adjacent to each other in the middle of the mythical Abode mountain range. But the strangest thing was that one side of these mountains were both precipitously steep, while the other side of these mountains were practically a straight line. It was as if a blade had cut these mountain walls. From afar, it looked as if one mountain had been split right down the middle by a heavenly blade into 2 strangely shaped mountains. The abyss between these 2 mountains was precisely the death god's graveyard that struck fear into the hearts of countless experts of the Azure Cloud continent the moment they heard its name. Once a person fell inside, they were as good as dead, and even monarchs were unable to return from this abyss. The peaks of the two mountains approached the crack of the abyss, and it was publicly recognized as the most dangerous in the entire Azure Cloud continent, Cloud's End Cliff. The southern side was where Xianxia had leaped from all those years ago when he had been trapped in a hopeless situation. The space between these two marvelously shaped mountains was far narrower than one would have expected. It was merely than 300 or so meters across from head to toe. At the position Jasmine was currently standing, which was directly above the cliff itself, one could see that the light only penetrated about 600 or so meters into that boundless abyss. It was as if something was devouring the light, and it was strangely dark. A devil energy that is even denser and more abnormal than the devil energy found in the moon's slaughter devil nest. Jasmine's eyes focused on the abyss below her as she muttered to herself, "I'm going to see just what sort of abnormal thing is hiding in this place." After she had finished speaking, Jasmine's small and dainty body descended down in a straight line as she entered the abyss below her. The Death God's graveyard that no one in the history of the Azure Cloud continent had ever returned from alive. Jasmine's speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, she had already descended more than 3 kilometers. Her surroundings turned pitch black, and the blue sky that had shone brightly above her had completely disappeared from her view. A red light pulsed from Jasmine's body, instantly bathing her surroundings in a scarlet light. Beside her was a rapidly ascending stone wall. Below her was an incomparably empty darkness, and it seemed to have no end. As she rapidly descended, Jasmine gradually realized that the stone wall was getting more and more gray as she traveled downwards. 6,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 16,000 meters, 23,000 meters. The depth of this abyss was extremely startling. But this depth was not much to any profound practitioner above the sky profound realm, much less someone like Jasmine. Jasmine was descending deeper and deeper, but the surroundings and the aura of this place did not go through any noticeable changes. If it was any other profound practitioner that was attempting to scale down this abyss, they would not be able to detect any differences between this place and another abyss. But Jasmine's brows began to knit together tightly, because she was growing closer and closer to the source of that strange aura. 26,000 meters, 33,000 meters, 39,000 meters. Jasmine's speed suddenly slowed down before she came to a complete stop. The world that was more than 39,000 meters into the abyss was a completely dark and silent one. Jasmine's eyes flashed with a bewitching and blood-colored red light as she steadily stared at the pitch-black world below her. She could sense that the laws in the space just 10 meters below her had suddenly undergone a huge change. Even though it was only a short 10 meters, it seemed like there was an invisible wall. The laws that governed both spaces were completely different. It was as if there were two worlds that did not interfere with each other at all. Could it be a transparent barrier? Jasmine's heart was seized by acute bewilderment and doubt, but she only hesitated over her misgivings for a few short breaths before continuing her descent. It was just that she did not encounter anything that resembled a barrier. In fact, she did not even feel any sort of obstruction or impediment as she descended. It was as if she had entered a world that was governed by a completely different set of laws. Jasmine's body trembled as cold yin energy that was both dense and extremely intense assaulted her from all sides. In conjunction with it, heavy pressure was assailing her profound veins. But that wasn't all. She could also a powerful attractive force trying to pull her downward. It was as if countless invisible hands were ferociously latching onto her, attempting to drag her down into some dreadful, bottomless abyss. Devil energy? Jasmine's heart was seized by shock. In the snow region of extreme ice, she had already ascertained that there was an extremely unusual devil energy radiating from this place. She had also felt that it was exceptionally dense. But in this moment, she realized to her shock that this devil energy was far more intense than what she had previously felt. Even though the level was not as high as the devil energy in the moon's slaughter devil nest that was being released by the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, it was still extremely high. Even the realm of the gods where she came from had not seen a level of dark devil energy that was this high. Furthermore, the density of this energy far exceeded that of the energy found within the moon's slaughter devil nest. The devil energy within the moon's slaughter devil nest would not affect the current Jasmine in the slightest. But the devil energy in this place caused Jasmine to feel like her profound strength was being faintly suppressed. What was going on? Why did such a dreadful devil energy exist in a world with such a low level of power and laws? The devil energy found in the moon's slaughter devil nest was due to the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. But what was going on with this place? Could it be that an ancient true devil was hidden at the bottom of this abyss? At this moment, Jasmine finally understood why none of the profound practitioners who fell or attempted to delve into the depths of this abyss had returned alive. Dark devil energy, which was able to affect the likes of Jasmine, was not something that the profound practitioners of this world could resist. Even if it was a monarch on the level of Xuanyuan Wentian who fell inside this place, all of their profound energy would instantly be suppressed to the point where they could barely release any of it. Furthermore, it was impossible for them to resist the huge rending force that came from below. This meant that once anyone came into contact with this dark world at the bottom of the abyss, they would instantly be sucked inside without a chance to struggle, much less escape. After that, they would be reduced to dust in the darkness by this dreadful devil energy. Chinachu notice. I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so, but Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip, though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Chinachu problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder. Given the level of the laws in this world, this kind of darkness energy shouldn't even exist, Jasmine said as she raised her head. What was even stranger was the fact that such a dreadful dark devil aura did not dissipate into the space that was 10 meters above her. It was as if something was securely confining this world below, not allowing it to escape. But when Jasmine had crossed between both of these worlds, she had not felt anything or any power trying to obstruct her. These two worlds were clearly connected, but they were governed by a completely different set of laws, and they did not interfere with each other. This was something that was completely and absolutely unfathomable. It was so inconceivable that even Jasmine was not able to understand it. The suction force that was tugging at her from below was extremely strong, but it was not at the point where Jasmine could not resist it. After the initial shock had worn off, Jasmine's eyes gradually grew colder. She flung her arm out as her profound strength surged and profound energy strong enough to collapse mountains and churn the seas exploded from her body. In an instant, the suppression created by the dark devil aura vanished completely, and even the rending force that came from the abyss below her weakened to the point where she could ignore it. HMPH, I want to see just what kind of things are hiding in this place. Jasmine was no longer wary of descending further, so she actually used the pulling force that was coming from below to descend at an even faster pace than before. As she continued to descend, the density of the dark devil energy around her continued to grow. After she had descended about 3,000 kilometers, it had grown nearly twice as dense as it had originally been. Furthermore, at this time, the air currents that were coming from below suddenly underwent a slight change. This was Jasmine's senses and mind sharpened as she immediately slowed down. Bang! Jasmine's feet landed heavily on actual ground, landing at the bottom of the abyss that no one had ever managed to reach alive. At this moment, Jasmine had surrounded her body with profound energy, and she had not deliberately slowed down to soften her landing. But after she had landed, the ground under her feet did not show any obvious cracks. It was inconceivably hard. Furthermore, a dark, cold, and bone-piercing aura immediately spread up from her feet to the rest of her body. What a pure darkness environment! Jasmine muttered to herself as she surveyed her surroundings. Such a pure darkness environment was not something that could be formed within even with tens of thousands of years. So this strange world that was hidden at the bottom of the abyss must have existed for the longest of times. Jasmine stretched out her hand, and the red light that appeared above her palm illuminated the dark world. The space in front of her was vast and empty, the ground flat and even. She could not see where it extended to. The mountain wall that she had used to guide her descent was not more than 60 meters to her right. Furthermore, once she had reached this place, She saw that this mountain wall had turned pitch black. The ground and the occasional rock that jutted out of the ground were also pitch black, and there was not even the slightest variance in color. Jasmine took to the air and advanced at a slow speed as she explored this bizarre world that should not exist. Even after a long period of time had passed, the scenery remained the same. There were only gloom, emptiness, darkness, and a deathly stillness. This seemed to be a world of death. Besides the darkness and the abnormally dense and rich devil energy, there was nothing else. Jasmine finally came to a stop as she was ready to stop her exploration of this place. However, it was at this time that a muffled cry suddenly rang out in the distance. Ayu! This howl seemed to come from extremely far away, as if it was 500 kilometers distant. But it was so heavy that it caused Jasmine's ears to buzz faintly. Her head jerked up as she looked in front of her. That was the howl of a beast. There were living creatures in this place. What kind of creatures could live in this kind of dark world? As her heart was seized with shock, Jasmine sent the red light in her hand flashing forward as it pierced the empty space in front of her. Rip. The space in this dark world twisted violently as it let out an ear-piercing cry, but a rift did not form in the air. Furthermore, the distorted space was swiftly returning back to normal once the distortion had ended. I actually can't tear apart the space in this place. Jasmine had just noticed that besides the incomparably dense dark devil aura in this world, the laws of space were also of a bizarrely high level. Jasmine took to the air once more as she shot towards the source of that howl. The darkness devil energy did not obstruct Jasmine's aura much, and in the blink of an eye, she had already traversed tens of kilometers. At this time, another huge roar rang out in this dark world. This time, the roar did not sound very far away. In fact, Jasmine heard it as if it was right next to her ear. She came to a sudden stop as all of the blood in her body churned at the sound of that roar. She focused on the path in front of her, and under the red light that was radiating from her body, she could see a blurry black silhouette lurking in the darkness in front of her. This silhouette was at least tens of meters tall, and it was clearly a living creature as Jasmine could see it move. But what caused Jasmine to be alarmed was not its enormous size. It was the unmistakable aura of danger that it was radiating. She had always thought that even if all of the existences in this inferior world were to combine their powers, it would still not cause her to feel the least bit threatened. But the giant darkness beast in front of her, of which she could still only see the silhouette of, actually made her feel a sense of danger. Just what was this thing? Jasmine was left in an ineffable state of shock, but suddenly realizing that two gloomy black lights had appeared on the upper portion of the giant shadow. To Jasmine's shock, the black light shot towards the place where she was hovering. The red light radiating from her body could be said to be extremely glaring in this world of darkness. AWO! An explosive roar caused the entire dark world to tremble as the huge black silhouette rushed towards Jasmine as it snarled. It was as if a mountain was hurtling down at her from above. A heavy feeling of suppression pressed down on Jasmine from above, and this was the first time she had truly felt this feeling of suppression after coming to this world. She activated Star God's broken shadow to flash to the back, but she did not move too far away. Boom! The explosion shook the heavens and the pitch-black surface cracked crazily. Using the red light, Jasmine, who had deliberately gotten closer, could also finally see the true appearance of this gigantic shadow. It was 165 meters tall. Its head was extremely wide, and it looked like a cross between a wolf and a bear. Its forelimbs were thick and stout, and its head and body bristled with white fangs. The sharp tips of those fangs shone with a hellish light that would send fear coursing through anyone's soul. A huge and long jet-black tail was arched overhead, and the end of the tail gleamed with the same cold light that a blade would. Jasmine. There was no one in the profound sky continent, azure cloud continent, or the illusory demon realm who had ever seen or heard about the gigantic beast in front of Jasmine. There were no records of it to be found in any of the three continents either. It was an existence that was completely unknown, an existence which surpassed all common knowledge. But this dreadful giant silhouette had fiercely stirred up an image that Jasmine had inherited from her star god memories. A name escaped her lips amidst her bewilderment and shock. Nine Desolate Devil Fang. This was a creature that had coexisted with the devils in the northern part of the primal chaos dimension during the ancient era, a primordial devil beast. But everyone knew that not long after the era of the devil and gods had ended due to each of their annihilation. The energy of the northern primal chaos dimension was gradually assimilated by the energies of the southern primal chaos dimension. The darkness element had slowly grown thinner and thinner, and this led the dark devil beasts to their extinction roughly 50 to 60,000 years later. These devil beasts had not appeared since then. However, this strange world of darkness was actually hiding something that was like the moon's slaughter devil sovereign. Devil beasts that were supposed to have long ago gone extinct during the ancient era. The red light that shone from Jasmine's body, which she had used for illumination, was far too glaring in this world. So it was too great a stimulus for the devil beast who was used to the darkness. After it had missed her completely, its gigantic body slammed towards her once again. Its body was enormous, but its speed was as fast as lightning. It was at the very least far faster than the maximum speed that Yun-Chi could attain currently. This huge dark might and pressure was enough to cause even the strongest individuals in the Azure Cloud continent to go limp with fear. They would find it incomparably difficult to even move under this pressure, much less put up any resistance. Primordial devil beast, why would a creature exist in this place? Jasmine's heart was filled with huge shock and bewilderment as her body flickered once more, causing the giant darkness beast to miss yet again. Scree, the explosive sound of air being pierced rang out in the darkness. All of the white fangs on the 9 desolate devil fangs' body suddenly jutted out and morphed into tens of white bone blades that crazily pierced towards Jasmine. The space that even Jasmine was unable to tear was instantly pierced full of holes. Jasmine's expression became grave as the red light that radiated from her body grew even deeper. She stretched Star God's broken shadow to its limit as countless red shadows flashed through the air. After her body had flickered back hundreds of times, a beam of red light exploded out from her body and pierced through a small opening in the fangs to strike the ankle of the 9 desolate devil fang. AHWO! A spray of bloody mist exploded from the 9 desolate devil fang's right leg. The 9 desolate devil fang had now been thoroughly enraged by the pain as those tens of fangs crazily attacked Jasmine like berserked vicious beasts. The power contained by every single fang was enough to destroy a giant mountain. The pitch-black tail that had been wagging behind it was suddenly raised at this moment. Immediately, a dark and cold sense of danger came from above, and Jasmine jerked her head upwards. Within the darkness, Jasmine saw a black beam of light that was more than 10 meters wide shoot out from the 9 desolate devil fang's tail. It then morphed into hundreds of black lightning bolts which exploded outwards. Jasmine's expression grew dark as she swiftly turned around, retreating from those beams of black light and fangs at the fastest speed possible. In an instant, she had retreated nearly 10 kilometers, but the 9 desolate devil fang was extremely fast, so she could not shake it at all. Snap! A beam of black lightning which contained a dreadful energy smashed into Jasmine's body. Jasmine's face paled slightly as her body lost its balance, and she was hit by a fang that had been hurled through the darkness. Jasmine was immediately flung out like a leaf that had been caught up in hurricane. Bang! Jasmine's body smashed against the pitch-black stone wall before heavily falling to the ground. She stood up and looked at her own chest. She had not received any injuries, but the smoky red fairy dress now had a bowl-sized hole in it. You actually wrecked my favorite dress? Jasmine's eyes flashed with a bloody light as her killing intent and fury exploded simultaneously. She had been suppressing them all this while, but they ignited in this moment. The huge black silhouette once again arrived in the space above Jasmine as every single fang on the 9 desolate devil fang's body grew to more than 300 meters long. They were millions of times more terrifying than any blade in this world. But this time, Jasmine did not dodge as those dreadful fangs whistled through the air. Ding! A long red line cut through the middle of this dark world, and it did not fade for a long time. The red line pierced through all of the fangs of the 9 desolate devil fangs. After an instant of dead silence, the 49 fangs which sought to end Jasmine's life had been evenly cut in two by that red line. This nightmarish change caused the 9 desolate devil fang to roar in shock and fear. Jasmine's body had already ghosted to the back of the 9 desolate devil fang. Her dainty and small hand was wrapped in red light before she mercilessly smashed it against the nape of the 9 desolate devil fang's neck. I had originally planned on not killing you, but you insisted on courting death. As Jasmine's bone-piercingly cold voice fell, red marks began appearing on Jasmine's small hand before they swiftly spread across the body of the 9 desolate devil fang, causing it to look like cracked glass. In the blink of an eye, the red marks had covered the body and the 4 limbs of the 9 desolate devil fang. HMPH! Jasmine slowly withdrew her palm, and after her figure blurred in the air, she was already several kilometers distant. Pitch-black devil blood began crazily spewing from the red marks, which covered the 9 desolate devil fang's entire body. And in the short span of a few breaths, nearly half of the devil blood in its body had sprayed out as its gigantic devil body started to sway. It then finally fell to the ground with a boom. The instant it fell, its devil tail and 4 limbs had all broken off from its body. Darn! Jasmine peered at the air above her as her brows knit tightly together. In order to kill the 9 desolate devil fang, she had been forced to use most of her power. Moreover, using this amount of power came with the risk of being detected. If this was an independent world like the Heaven Basin Secret Realm or the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley, she would not be worried at all. The world of darkness that was located at the bottom of this abyss was clearly an independent existence, yet it was also connected to the outside world. If not, she would not have been able to sense the oddity that existed in this place from the distant, profound sky continent. That level of power just now should not be enough, right? Jasmine muttered to herself as her brows relaxed. Wu Yao! The 9 desolate devil fang's body shook as its strong life force allowed it to survive Jasmine's attack, which had smashed its internal organs into a mushy paste. It let out a deep and low wail of despair. Aoo, Aoo, SCRE, SAA. At this moment, several roars which all carried extremely oppressive power rang out in the distant darkness. The last howl of the 9 desolate devil fang seemed to be a plea for help or a shout to alert the others. Because in the blink of an eye, deep and heavy roars, cries and howls filled the air, causing the dark space to shake violently. The expression in Jasmine's eyes changed completely. In the span of less than 10 breaths, she had heard at least tens of different howls and cries. Furthermore, these were definitely not the howls and cries of any normal beast, as all of them carried with them a peerlessly dreadful might. And the majority of these auras were not inferior to the aura of the 9 desolate devil fang in the least. Furthermore, the sounds were growing nearer and nearer, as it was clear that these beasts were approaching this place at the fastest speed possible. Jasmine had already been immeasurably shocked to find one primordial devil beast existing in this bizarre world of darkness. However, the howls that were ringing out in the distant darkness clearly and shocking told her that the 9 desolate devil fang was not the only primordial devil beast in this place. The primordial devil beasts, which should have gone completely extinct, actually existed in this place in droves. Just what exactly is going on? The shock in Jasmine's heart was profound and ineffable, compared to why this place contained the long-extinct primordial devil beasts. What she really could not understand was why such a place would actually exist on this planet, because this was a planet that the evil god had created himself, and he'd also used this planet to seal the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations and the moon's slaughter devil sovereign. Furthermore, why would there even be such a place in a world that a god had created? As the creator of this planet, the evil god definitely knew every single detail about it. Not even the smallest and most insignificant existence or change would escape his notice, so he definitely had to know about the existence of this dark world. Leaving aside the question as to why this place existed in the first place, why did the evil god not completely destroy this world that should not exist before he fell? Could it be this was something the evil god himself? The devil beasts of the primal chaos realm should have been long extinct, yet they existed in large numbers in this place. It was as if he predicted that the devil beasts would end up going extinct, so he intentionally created this world of darkness, so he could preserve them. These thoughts naturally appeared in Jasmine's mind, because she could not think of any other reason to explain the existence of this dangerous world besides this. She immediately and heavily shook her head again. That's not possible. The evil god is a god, and he was even ranked as one of the most powerful gods. How could it be possible that he had intentionally created a world for devils? SCRE? A shrill bird cry pierced the darkness as a gigantic black shadow flashed over Jasmine's head like a bolt of lightning. At the same time, Jasmine's gaze locked onto it. "Bane glass bird," Jasmine said with a low cry, because this was also a primordial devil beast that appeared in her star god memories. Xianxia notice. I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so. But Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip, though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Chinachu problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder. The Bane Glassbird was a powerful devil beast that lived in the disaster fog Devil Valley during the era of gods and devils. It had glass-like body that was as tough as steel, and it was lightning fast. A flap of its wings could sweep up a dark hurricane, engulfing everything in a hellish catastrophe. Scree! The Bane Glassbird retracted its wings, suddenly diving through the sky like lightning. Everywhere it went, dark space would twist into whirlpools. Under the radiant red light from Jasmine's body, the body of the bird refracted prismatic light. However, this light was not beautiful to the eye and instead resembled the shine of snake scales, sending chills through people's hearts. These dark devil beasts seemed to possess an acute territorial awareness. Regardless of whether it was the 9 desolate devil fang from earlier or the current Bane Glassbird, both of them attacked Jasmine the moment they spotted her. The Bane Glassbird's incredible speed greatly shocked Jasmine. This was probably not its fastest velocity, but it still surpassed the speed that Jasmine would be capable of at peak condition. For the short moment that Jasmine was dumbfounded, the dark tornado that had been created by the Bane Glassbird's charge had already closed in on her. The red glow that Jasmine had retracted earlier exploded forth once more. Her small, snow-white hand reached directly into the dark tornado. With a casual grasping motion, it instantly disturbed the dark space-tearing tornado. At that moment, the Bane Glassbird shifted the direction of its charge slightly and rushed directly toward Jasmine's side. Shattered rocks flew into the air as it pierced a deep, gigantic crater in the dark abyss. In a flash, Jasmine appeared next to the Bane Glassbird using Star God's broken shadow. She reached out her hand to grab onto one of its reddish-yellow feet, turning her body to ruthlessly hurl the Bane Glassbird, which was several hundred times her own size, away from her. The Bane Glassbird screeched miserably as it was sent flying several dozen kilometers away like a cannonball. When its body fell, it carved a fissure that was more than 100 meters long into the pitch-black ground. Only afterward did the Bane Glassbird finally come to a stop, the colorful scales on its entire body gradually staining with scarlet blood. Scree! The Bane Glassbird's cry became fierce and savage. When it stood up, its entire body dripped with blood, and its pair of wings trembled slightly. However, the aura of its body not weaken and instead grew even more ghastly and tyrannical. Scree! Scree! Just as Jasmine was about to step forward and give the Bane Glassbird a killing blow, 2 similar, ear-piercing cries resounded from the darkness nearby. There were actually 2 more Bane Glassbirds. Aside from that of the Bane Glassbird, hundreds of different, yet incomparably terrifying dark auras were approaching at extreme speeds. Their goal was obvious. Considering Jasmine's current state, dealing with so many dark devil beasts at the same time was simply an impossible task. After she took a step back, Jasmine furrowed her brow and no longer hesitated, floating up into the air. She flew upward as fast as she could, ascending over 1,000 meters until her body crossed the critical point between the 2 worlds. The dark devil auras instantly disappeared without a trace, and the elements and laws of the surrounding world reverted back to normal. Jasmine stopped and glanced below her one last time. Her palms sliced forward and tore space apart, allowing her to instantly rise more than 30,000 meters and return directly to the top of Cloud's End Cliff. After leaving behind the dark world at the bottom of the cliff, Jasmine did not immediately depart. She stood at the edge of Cloud's End Cliff and looked at the dark, foggy void below with an indifferent expression. It was as if she were thinking about something. No one would have guessed that the depths of this abyss would hide such a strange world that shouldn't have existed. Even Jasmine would not have expected it had she not come here herself. If a single one of the dark devil beasts were to escape this deep abyss, then this world would definitely be plunged into a catastrophic nightmare. No one would be able to oppose it. Even if the monarchs from all 3 continents were to combine their strength, exterminating even one devil beast would be a foolish dream. Not a single one of the profound practitioners in this world had any idea that such terrifying creatures were actually hidden in the world that they lived in, and that there were so many of them. With the passing of the evil god, the reason behind this dark world's existence should remain an eternal mystery, Jasmine muttered to herself after pondering for a long time. Divine Phoenix Empire, Black Moon Headquarters. After returning from Supreme Ocean Palace, Xianxia's state of mind could no longer return to its former calm. The Devil Sword Conference, which had gathered experts from the entire continent, did not get them the secrets of the divine profound realm like they hoped. Instead, it made the 4 great sacred grounds, which had dominated the profound sky continent for 10,000 years, realized that there were still existences above them that were so powerful, they were just ants in their eyes. As a result of the 4 great sacred grounds' act of greed, their lives were now in someone else's hands. When Xianxia returned to the Black Moon headquarters, he also shouldered an extremely important mission related to the present Supreme Ocean Palace. He was to prepare a congratulatory gift for Yuan-Chi's and Princess Snow's engagement ceremony that would take place in 12 days. Supreme Ocean Palace had never been so serious and anxious about preparing a congratulatory gift because their lives had never been in someone else's hands before. The 7th floor of the Black Moon headquarters was as quiet as ever. Only the babble of flowing water could be heard, but not only did it not disrupt this serenity, it added a hint of elegance. At this moment, the startled cry of a young girl broke this silence. "Ah, you, who are you? Who dares to break into Black Moon Merchant Guild?" This cry made Xianxia frown. Regular people could not enter the 7th floor of Black Moon Merchant Guild. Forcefully breaking into it was as difficult as reaching the heavens, and none had had the guts to do it. Yet, from the panic in the young girl's voice, it was evident that an esteemed guest had not arrived. Someone had forcefully broken in. The moment that Xianxia turned his body, he instantly moved several meters and arrived where the cry came from. In a glance, he saw the 3 young girls who usually attended to him anxiously blocking the path of a red-clothed girl. As soon as he could clearly see that girl, Xianxia's originally stern face twisted, and his pupils shrank intensely, as if they had been stabbed by needles as they shrunk intensely. He hurriedly said, "Qingchen Huangque Zai, she is an esteemed guest. Do not be impolite. Hurry and apologize." Fearing that the red-clothed girl would make a move, he had already rushed forward and bowed, his body bent deeply. "Senior, these 3 little maidservants have never seen Senior's appearance made an innocent offense as a result. I hope that Senior can be magnanimous and does not take their behavior personally." Qingchen, Huangque, and Zai were instantly dumbfounded. As people who were intimately aware of Xia's identity, they had never seen him this frightened or give anyone such a deep bow, not even when the Sovereign of the Seas arrived in person. Indeed, if the Sovereign of the Seas had arrived, Xianxia would not be this anxious and frightened. However, the person in front of him was Jasmine. "Catch," Jasmine coldly voiced out. With a push of her small hand, a dress adorned with red crystal tassels, which looked luxurious without losing any of its cuteness, floated toward Xianxia while wrapped in red light. Xianxia hurriedly raised his arms and carefully received it. "This was bought from your Black Moon Merchant Guild's New Moon City branch 7 years ago. It is currently somewhat damaged. You have 3 days to fix it completely," Jasmine commanded. "This?" Xianxia had a dumbfounded expression. He then recalled that Jasmine seemed to be wearing it when he saw her in the Devil Sword Conference. "Are there any problems?" Jasmine's voice turned 30% colder. Xianxia's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly said, "No, not a single one. Since it came from our Black Moon Merchant Guild, we will naturally take responsibility until the ending." "That's for the best," Jasmine coldly said. "Remember, this princess wants it to be fixed. This princess does not want you to find another piece that looks exactly the same. This princess only wants this piece. You have 3 days. In 3 days, this princess will personally come to retrieve it. If it's not completely fixed, or if this princess isn't satisfied with it, then this princess will tear this headquarters of yours apart." After saying that, Jasmine instantly disappeared from where she was. Xianxia did not have any opportunity to speak. Xianxia gasped for breath. With trembling hands, he wiped sweat from his forehead. After taking a considerably long time to steady his state of mind, he calmly said, "Qingchen, Huangque, Zai, hurry and send a voice transmission to the guild leaders of the first 10 the first 30 side branches. Have them personally bring the best artisans in their guilds, use the most superior profound crystals to power their best profound arcs, and immediately make their way to headquarters as fast as possible. Not a moment's delay is allowed. Hurry. Yes. The three young girls did not dare to probe further and moved in a rush. It was clearly from Zai Jai's expression that this was a grave matter that concerned the existence of Black Moon Merchant Guild. After circulating Great Way of the Buddha for several days, Yun Qi woke up from his trance. The heavy feeling on his entire body had once again weakened considerably. The dormant portions of Phoenix blood and Golden Crow blood also had clear traces of awakening. Yun Qi opened his eyes and saw that Jasmine was standing in front of him. "When did you return?" Yun Qi subconsciously asked. "Just now," Jasmine replied. "That's strange. You were wearing the red smoky fairy dress when you left. Why did you change into another?" Yun Qi asked in suspicion, sizing up Jasmine with a glance. Jasmine was currently wearing a short, bright red polka dot dress with a huge butterfly ribbon tied to the back. Girls were creatures that loved to change into different clothes after all, and changing clothes was normal for other girls. However, it was an extremely rare sight when it came to Jasmine because Jasmine always had a soft spot for the red smoky fairy dress. It was the first dress that Yun Qi had bought for her. In these past few years, Yun Qi had bought Jasmine many dresses in the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm. They were a miscellaneous assortment of princess dresses, moonlit dresses, fairy flowing dresses, phoenix-tailed dresses, dawn jade dresses, and more. Furthermore, they were all bright red, and every single one of them was extraordinarily lavish. However, 99% of the time, Jasmine wore the red smoky fairy dress, and the occasional change in attire was just to see if she looked good in something else. Although it had been worn for 7 years, with her profound energy protection, there was never a single stain or speck of damage on the red smoky fairy dress. As long as she wanted to, wearing it for hundreds or thousands of years would not be a problem. "Don't you always say that I don't like changing dresses? HMPH. Jasmine snorted coldly and turned her head away, looking like she was too lazy to deal with him. The red dress that Jasmine was wearing was rather short, and her two thin, jade-like calves were completely exposed. A pair of small red gemstones on her jade skin glittered with flowing light, and Yun Qi was barely able to tear his gaze away. He hurriedly turned his head to the side, praying that Jasmine did not notice where he was looking earlier. He hastily changed the topic and asked, "Jasmine, what did you discover in the Azure Cloud continent? What is hidden at the bottom of Cloud's End Cliff?" However, Jasmine responded with a question. "When will you be ready to head over to the Azure Cloud continent?" "If possible." Yun Qi did not hesitate very long and answered, "As early as possible would be best. I even want to head over there right now." "I don't even know how Linger looks right now," Yun Qi muttered softly. If everything from back then truly wasn't an illusion, then the present Linger should already be 16 years old. "Then how are you going to get there?" "Using the Primordial Profound Arc, of course." "Primordial Profound Arc?" Jasmine glanced at him, then leisurely said, "Do you know how far from each other the Azure Cloud continent and the Profound Sky continent are?" "The distance between the Profound Sky continent and the illusory demon realm is approximately 650,000 kilometers. Jasmine slowly raised 2 fingers. "The distance between the Profound Sky continent and the Azure Cloud continent is 7 times that." 7 times? Yun Qi was secretly shocked. Over 4,500,000 kilometers. It was no wonder that both the Profound Sky continent and the illusory demon realm knew of each other's existence and had several historical grudges. Yet, regardless of whether it was the Profound Sky continent or the illusory demon realm, neither could find detailed records of the Azure Cloud continent. Even if there were, an extreme few existed, and most were obscure rumors. In reality, although they existed in the same world, there was actually a distance of about 5 million kilometers between them. Even though 5 million kilometers of continental ground was a great distance, reaching the other side would just be a matter of time. Traveling over 5 million kilometers across the ocean, however, it was almost impossible for humans to go traverse that with just their own strength. Jasmine crossed her arms in front of her chest and softly said, "With the primordial profound arc's remaining energy, traveling back and forth between the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm dozens of times would be possible. However, going to the Azure Cloud continent can only be done once. If you excessively consume the primordial profound arc's energy before then, I'm afraid that, after reaching the Azure Cloud continent, you won't even have to think about returning. In other words, it would be best to not use the primordial profound arc," Yun Qi said faintly. Then he looked at Jasmine with a respectful expression. "Jasmine, heh heh, I can bring you there. Jasmine's expression became stern. However, you must promise me one thing. Huh, what is it? Jasmine's slender brows tilted slightly. The dark world beneath Cloud's End Cliff was undoubtedly the largest concern in her heart that could not be relieved. When you're in the Azure Cloud continent, regardless of whether that happens sooner or later, you're not allowed to approach Cloud's End Cliff ever again, even if your strength becomes 100 times stronger than it currently is, and is eventually able to sweep across the entire continent, easily enabling you to defeat someone like Xuanyuan Wentian. You must never attempt to investigate the bottom of Cloud's End Cliff. Yuan-Chi was someone who possessed an extreme level of curiosity and never feared unknown dangers. Jasmine was deeply aware of that. With Yuan-Chi's speed of growth, the day that he became undefeatable in this world would definitely come. When he no longer had any enemies, out of curiosity, boredom, and confidence, he would try to investigate what was beneath Cloud's End Cliff. That would be the same as sending himself into a dark hell that he would never return from. The dark absorption force there would prevent him from ever escaping, and the dark devil aura would reduce him into ash. Any of the devil beasts would easily tear him into shreds. Jasmine needed to cut his wishful thinking short from the very beginning. Chinachu notice. I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so, but Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip, though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Chinachu problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder. Why? Yuan-Chi asked in a puzzled voice. What secrets did that place hide? Could it be extremely dangerous? Jasmine's words had undoubtedly made clear that what was hiding at the bottom of Cloud's End Cliff was no ordinary mystery. It's not merely as simple as being dangerous, Jasmine said in a stern voice. I can't tell you what is hiding at the bottom of Cloud's End Cliff. Its dreadfulness is far beyond what you can imagine. Yuan-Chi, Jasmine shot a glance at Yuan-Chi before her voice turned slightly gentler. Me not telling you the source of Moon's slaughter devil nest's darkness and Cloud's End Cliff's secret is not because I don't want to tell you or that I don't trust you. It's that, Jasmine raised her head as her eyes grew more focused and serious than they had ever been before. I had originally thought this world was only a normal and even inferior planet among the billions of planets in the boundless universe. If I did not know that the evil god's seeds were scattered on this planet, I would not even have come here. But as I gradually unearthed the secrets that were hidden on this planet, I came to realize that this planet was not only not as simple as I had perceived it to be, but it was also far more complex and mysterious than I had ever imagined. It has gotten to the point where this planet has completely exceeded my imagination, and there were a few times where my perception was completely overturned. Yuan-Chi immediately froze in place. Furthermore, the moment these secrets are leaked out, and the denizens of the realm of the gods come to know of them, the world that you inhabited will be plunged into an eternal calamity, Jasmine said as she shut her eyes. So it would be for the best if I am the only person who knows about these things. After a brief but heavy silence, Jasmine softly added, if I can't even tell you these things, then it's natural that I will never tell anyone else either. Even though his heart was still filled with curiosity and suspicion, Jasmine's words, especially the words that she had just spoken, deterred Yuan-Chi from pursuing this matter any further. The discontent and feeling of loss in his heart were completely swept away, and he gave a heavy nod of his head. I understand. I won't ever go near Cloud's End Cliff from now on. Even if I do end up at Cloud's End Cliff due to special circumstances, I will definitely not attempt to investigate what is hidden at the bottom. This is something that I've promised you, Jasmine, so I definitely won't ever break this promise. Good, Jasmine said as she gave a sigh of relief in her heart. Yuan-Chi had never once broken a promise he had made to her. This was especially so when it came to getting the netherworld Udambara flower for her. He had practically thrown his life away and endured soul-rending pain, such that a normal person would not be able to bear even after 100 lifetimes. The Azure Cloud continent is too far away, even I need to expend quite a bit of energy to travel there. Furthermore, your wounds and profound strength have not fully recovered yet, and in a few weeks there is still that HMPH engagement ceremony of yours. How about we wait for you to finish up all your nonsense before I bring you to the Azure Cloud continent? This should help you avoid the scenario where you have to walk on eggshells around two women and get overwhelmed trying to juggle both, thus wasting my energy. HMPH. Jasmine's voice had become calm once more, and she had even grown rather irate towards the end. After she had finished speaking, she folded both hands behind her back and walked away with an angry and petulant pout on her face. Yunqi's mouth dropped open, and he had a dumbstruck expression on his face. Jasmine had always assumed a very serious, cold, and haughty posture, and acted as if she was completely detached from the world. But during this period of time, it seemed like all the time she had shown any anger at all was when she talked about the girls that were by his side. It can't be that. She is actually jealous right now. Yunqi muttered to himself softly as he stared blankly into space. A gloomy and sinister place shrouded in shadow. Sha, H-A-H, U-W-A-H-H-H. After the sounds of heavy gasping and panting subsided, a shrill roar split the air. The desolate mountain range shook at the sound of that roar as countless flying, profound beasts took to the air in terror. In the middle of this desolate mountain range, a pitch-black mist slowly rose into the sky. A human figure holding a jet-black sword stood in the middle of that mist. The black mist curled around Feng Jiuchen's body, moreover. This black mist was several times deeper and denser than it had been before. The most dreadful thing, however, was his aura. It had become so dark and sinister that it seemed to originate from the depths of the netherworld itself. The devil blood in his body had awakened. He felt his power crazily rise as his profound strength attribute transformed into an even purer darkness attribute. He had nearly lost control of his emotions many times during the process of awakening, but he had suppressed this with his iron will. Both of his hands tightly gripped the heavenly sin divine sword that was also surrounded by that same black mist, also known as the Moon Slaughter Devil Sword. His breathing was heavy and ragged as blood freely flowed down his trembling arms. This was because the devil blood in his body, which previously had not awoken, had now been completely refined. Thus, he was having a hard time enduring his crazily growing darkness profound energy. The blood that dripped from his body was a shocking dark red color. It was not the same color as fresh blood from normal human beings. Xuanyuan Wentian. Due to Feng Jiuchen's determination to grow even stronger, even pain that was 10 times worse than what he was enduring would be nothing to him right now. The first person I'm going to kill will be you. Because Xuanyuan Wentian was the main culprit behind the destruction of the Eternal Night royal family. The devil blood in his body continued to awaken as the black mist around his body continuously streamed into the sky. It seemed like it would never stop. The coiling black mist above him did not dissipate for a very long time, as it gradually formed into the face of a sinister, grinning devil. Feng Jiuchen had not noticed that 2 long, narrow, pitch-black eyes had slowly appeared underneath the hilt of the heavenly sin divine sword before suddenly fading away. Yunqi had devoted all of his energy and attention to his recovery over the past few weeks. So the heavy wounds that he had sustained in his dire fight with the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign had completely healed. His profound strength, which he had overtaxed to an extreme degree, had fully recovered just the day before, and the slumbering Phoenix and Golden Crow bloods had nearly completely awakened once again. This morning, Yunqi had risen early and prepared to leave the snow region of extreme ice, because today was the day of the engagement ceremony between him and Feng Zuer. The engagement ceremony that Feng Henkang had shamelessly arranged on the day of the Devil Sword Conference. Yunqi did not immediately travel to Divine Phoenix City. He first stopped over at Blue Wind Imperial City as he had intended for Kang Yue to accompany him there. However, once he arrived, Kang Yue gently turned him down. Husband, the monarchs of the other 5 nations will definitely make an appearance, but besides my status as the monarch of the Blue Wind Nation, I am also your principal wife. Furthermore, little sister Zuer is revered above all things within the Divine Phoenix Nation. If I were to make an appearance at your engagement ceremony with her, the Divine Phoenix Imperial family would feel a measure of discomfort. Hence, it is best if I do not personally go. However, I have long ago prepared a present for this occasion, and I dispatched people to deliver it to the Divine Phoenix Imperial family several days ago, Kang Yue said with a faint smile. There was not a hint of jealousy or reluctance in her manner. On the contrary, she was as gentle and graceful as water. I will definitely be there on the day that husband and little sister Zuer get married. If husband and little sister Zuer would be willing to get married in the imperial city, that would be for the best. All right then. Yunqi knew that it was not that Kang Yue did not want to go nor was not going for the sake of the divine phoenix imperial family. She was not going because she was taking Feng Zuer's feelings into consideration. He hugged Kang Yue before softly speaking. It'll only be 2 or 3 days at most. After that, I will bring Zuer back, and then I will bring all of you to the illusory demon realm with me. My parents will definitely love all of you. Amen. I've also been wanting to meet them all this while. I also want to meet the little demon empress that you constantly talk about, Kang Yue whispered into his ear with a faint smile. Yunqi left the palace and took to the skies, arriving at Jasmine's side. Jasmine did not turn around and she spoke in a stiff and haughty voice. Have you done what you needed to do? If you have, let's be off. After she finished speaking, her left hand grabbed Yunqi's arm as she made a rift in space with a gesture of her right hand. Instantly, the world whirled before Yunqi's eyes, and before he even had time to react, the scenery in front of him had completely changed from the familiar Blue Wind Imperial City to Divine Phoenix City. From his view of the Black Moon Merchant Guild that soared into the clouds, he could tell that he was right in the central region of Divine Phoenix City. Jasmine's accuracy and speed was not at all inferior to that of the primordial profound arc. When will I be able to do this? Yunqi asked with a heart filled with envy and admiration. You still have a long way to go, Jasmine said in a surly manner. Just tearing space alone will require a large amount of power. Furthermore, if you want to traverse through space, it will use up an extremely large amount of energy. Finally, and most importantly, you will need to have a complete and thorough understanding of the laws of space to do this. The laws of space and the other elemental laws cannot even be mentioned in the same breath. If you want to completely understand them, you will need at least a few thousand or even tens of thousands of years of cultivation to comprehend them. Yunqi glanced at Jasmine gloomily, and the meaning in his eyes clearly showed, you are obviously even younger than me. Run along then. Just from looking at this atmosphere alone, one can tell that those esteemed guests will be filling up the streets of this divine Phoenix City before long, Jasmine said as she gazed at the city below her. You're not coming with me? I'm not interested, Jasmine said with a haughty sniff before she continued, but I will be staying in Divine Phoenix City. Ah, Yunqi said. Given Jasmine's temperament, she could not even be bothered to meet the people around him, much less the countless guests who would attend the engagement ceremony. However, there was still time, so he was not in any hurry to get to Phoenix City. Moreover, after thinking for a bit, he asked Jasmine a question. Jasmine, I have something that I have always been very curious about. Just what is the power that you're normally using? From the time we met to the Devil's Sword Conference, every time you have attacked, your target is instantly cut apart. Furthermore, it is clear that the strength of your attacks are overwhelming, yet I have never sensed the slightest bit of profound energy from you. Could it be that your powers aren't based on profound strength, but are actually some other kind of power that is on an even higher level? From the moment he had met Jasmine, the way she had killed the members of the Xiao sect, the Flame Dragon, the Flood Dragon, and Mu Tianbei had all been the same. They had been cut apart in an instant. Each part had been neatly and evenly split. When she had killed people at the Devil's Sword Conference, she had done so using a red line that flashed across her opponents, cutting them into pieces. The aura that radiated from her attacks was so dreadful that it shook one's soul, but he could hardly feel any movement of profound energy when she made those attacks. However, whether he attacked with heavy sword, profound flame, or fist, every single attack would split the earth, and the sounds produced would shake the heavens. His attacks would tear at his opponent's internal organs and cause their blood to churn, and in some cases, a single sword strike would rend their bodies and shatter their bones. It was as different as day and night from how Jasmine's attacks sounded and looked when she killed people. It basically seemed as if they were using two completely different powers. Of course I am using profound energy, Jasmine exclaimed as she rolled her eyes at him. After that, her gaze grew rather gloomy. It's just that my power is not used for battle or to harm people. The only goal of my power is to kill people, so that is why it's a little special. Kill people? Yunqi asked in a stunned voice. When your profound strength grows, it essentially means that the density of the profound energy in your profound veins is growing. You can also understand it as your profound energy being compressed, Jasmine said in a bland voice. Every time you rise by a level, It means that your profound energy has become slightly more compressed. Once it reaches a certain level of compression, a fundamental change will occur that is also when you enter a new realm. Yuanqi briefly nodded his head. Jasmine raised her hand. It was dainty and exquisite, as flawless, tender, and delicate as white snow. Just from looking at this small hand, one would never think that a casual wave could unleash a might that would destroy the heavens and the earth. However, my profound art will once more compress my profound energy to the extreme every time I fire off an attack. This will reduce the scope of the attack but dramatically increase its power. As she finished speaking, Jasmine made a small gesture with her hand, and two identical lumps of metal appeared in her hand. After she made another gesture, one of the lumps turned square-shaped while the other one turned into the shape of a needle. After that, she sent them flying at the bell tower in front of them. Bang! Scree! The square-shaped metal piece smashed a part of the stone wall of the bell tower before clattering to the ground. But the needle-shaped metal piece completely pierced the stone wall, embedding itself into the stone wall behind it. The two pieces of metal were identical in composition and weight. The strength I used to fling them out was the same as well, but the first piece of metal only smashed the stone wall, so it created quite a bit of damage. The second piece of metal, on the other hand, did not create a lot of damage, and even the sound of the attack was very soft, but it sought to directly take the life of the opponent. Jasmine withdrew her hand. Do you understand now? This is my star god power. It is a power that condemns me to a future where my hands will be soaked in blood. So that was how it is, Yuanqi said in an expression filled with wonder. This means that even though you release the same amount of profound energy, your attacks will generate an enormous might, and in many cases, it will even greatly reduce the amount of profound energy consumed in the attack. To think that there was such a powerful and miraculous profound art. Jasmine, you said before that you would teach me your star god arts. Were you referring to this profound art you just described? Jasmine had indeed said those words before, and when she had said them, they did not seem to stir up Yuanqi. But now his expression was filled with expectation and enthusiasm. Jasmine, however, replied with a slow shake of her head. I did indeed think of doing so over the past few years, but over this period of time I have changed my mind. Why? Yuanqi asked as his brows twitched. Could it be that my present level of cultivation is still not sufficient for me to practice such a high-grade profound art? That isn't the case. Yuanqi had even managed to comprehend high-level profound arts such as the Great Way of the Buddha and the Prison God Serious Tome in an extremely short amount of time. So Jasmine definitely did not think that he was unable to comprehend her star god arts. She spoke in a soft and gentle voice. My power is focused on instant destruction. Even my star god's broken shadow is meant to match that instant destruction. But your fighting style has always been incomparably fierce and violent. Compared to my method of fighting, you could say that they are at the extreme ends of two opposing styles, especially since you use the heavy sword as a weapon. So if I were to forcefully impart my star god arts to you, not only will it not bring you any benefits, it is extremely likely to warp your own growth. Don't forget, the reason why you chased after profound strength at first was to protect and not to kill, Jasmine firmly stated as she looked at him. But the depths of her eyes were colored with a bewilderment that Yuanqi could not understand. The eagerness in Yuanqi's eyes gradually vanished before he gave a light nod of his head. Amen, I get it. You can leave now. Don't call on me unless something extremely significant happens. Jasmine turned around and faced her back towards him. After that, she closed her eyes and did not speak any further. Yuanqi was not sure if he was mistaken, but he had the nagging feeling that there was something wrong with Jasmine today. Normally, Jasmine would work hard to portray an icy and cool facade, giving one the impression that she was far above everything. But right now, it could not create any pressure for Yuanqi, nor did it deter him in the slightest, because he understood Jasmine's nature far too well. But today's Jasmine gave him a feeling of heaviness for some odd reason. This feeling was unclear and not even worth mentioning. Moreover, Jasmine's words and actions were no different from how they were usually, but he just could not shake that odd feeling. Chinachu notice. I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so. But Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip, though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Chinachu problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder. Today would be the busiest day in the history of Phoenix City. The huge divine Phoenix City had already been crammed full of people several days ago. Furthermore, everyone who came were, without exception, all famous and brilliant individuals from the various large territories. With the sole exception of Blue Wind Nation, all of the rulers of the other 6 nations had personally come as well. The sect masters, clan leaders and hegemons of the various large powers and sects had all personally come as well. This event was so grand that it left the residents of Divine Phoenix City, who were long used to big events, completely flabbergasted. Furthermore, it was also rumored that the 4 sacred masters who governed the 4 great sacred grounds and all under heaven, existences which were akin to myth and legend, would personally arrive with all of the strongest individuals of the sacred grounds in tow. This was an event that was completely unprecedented in the history of the Divine Phoenix Empire. If one did not know what had happened, no one would have imagined, after looking at the spectacle that was taking place in Divine Phoenix City, that all of this hullabaloo was merely for an engagement banquet. From the time of Jasmine's appearance 19 days ago at Supreme Ocean Palace's Sea God Arena to her departure, not even 15 minutes had passed. Yet this short appearance had caused the entire profound world of the profound sky continent to tremble in fear, and it caused dramatic changes in even the most isolated parts of the continent. The high and exalted 4 great sacred grounds became existences which could be trampled on at any given moment. The profound practitioners of the profound sky continent who were present that day still had a profound feeling that they had not woken up from a dream every time they recalled the 35-kilometer-wide northern region being destroyed. This was a result that had been created by absolute power, and it was a result that could only be created by absolute power. Before it had even passed 9 in the morning, most of the enormous Phoenix City was already thronging with people, and the guests still continued to pour in successively. The main lobby could hold 30,000 people, and every person who was received into the main lobby walked in with their backs ramrods straight, as they were observed by all the other guests. All of them strode proudly into the main lobby, and some even looked overwhelmed by the amount of favor they were shown. Moreover, many of the most famous and outstanding sect masters and individuals, who were amongst the elites of their nations, were relegated to one of the side halls, and they did not feel the least bit slighted. Furthermore, the vice-sect masters and the lesser powers had to be content with banquet tables that were outside of the halls. Supreme Ocean Palace, Sovereign of the Seas Fengyi, with Black Moon Merchant Guild Master Zai Jai, the 7 venerable ones of Supreme Ocean Palace, Great Elder Chen Mo Feng, Second Elder, Jade-faced Demon Monarch Jai Qianru. 20 esteemed guests of Supreme Ocean Palace have arrived. The Divine Phoenix disciple who was in charge of yelling out the names of the guests who had arrived had already been shouting for 2 whole hours, but his voice was still resonant and deep, his aura still vigorous. Furthermore, the disciple assigned to this task was of extraordinary talent, so every time he announced a name, most of Phoenix City could hear him loud and clear. But when he announced the name of the Sovereign of the Seas, one could hear a noticeable tremble in his voice. The uncommonly noisy Phoenix City suddenly descended into silence as all eyes were instantly directed towards the gates. Supreme Ocean Palace had arrived, and sure enough, the Sovereign of the Seas herself had personally come. In her retinue was the Black Moon Merchant Guild Master Zai Jai, whose status was nearly equal to the Sovereign of the Seas. He was normally known to be shrouded in mystery, and he very rarely made a public appearance. Even the 7 venerable ones were in attendance, and all the elders who had come along were the ones ranked in the top 10 of Supreme Ocean Palace. This was without a doubt the grandest party of people Supreme Ocean Palace could dispatch. The only one who was an exception to this rule was Jai Qianru. But the ones in the know understood his presence, because Jai Qianru had previously saved the lives of Yun Qi and Feng Zuer when they were on the primordial profound arc. So whether it was dispatching the most ridiculously over-the-top party or the presence of Jai Qianru, all of these things were to curry favor with Yun Qi. Feng Hengkong took large strides as he moved forward to welcome the party who had come from Supreme Ocean Palace. Astonishingly, the Sovereign of the Seas, Fengyi and Zai Jai were at the forefront of this little group. Feng Hengkong immediately cupped his hands as he said, I welcome the esteemed guests of Supreme Ocean Palace. The fact that the Sovereign of the Seas and Mr. Zai are personally present inspires such gratitude and astonishment that this Henkang can hardly bear it. Feng Henkang's face was flushed red. This definitely was not an act. It was because he truly was extremely excited. Before this, if Supreme Ocean Palace sent someone like Jai Qianru, who was not even equivalent to a low-ranking elder, to attend their big events, they would already be considered to be giving face to him. So he had never dreamed or even dared to dream that the Sovereign of the Seas would personally pay a visit. But this time, the Sovereign of the Seas had brought along more than 10 of the most important individuals in Supreme Ocean Palace for a mere engagement banquet. Even though he had been the Divine Phoenix Emperor for 100 years already, Feng Henkang had never stood as tall and straight as he had today. At this moment, he even had a faint feeling that his own position was nearly equal to that of a sacred master. Moreover, all of this had been brought about because of Yun Qi, or his master to be precise. The Divine Phoenix Sect Master is being far too courteous. If this sovereign did not come for such a joyous occasion, it would truly be a pity, Sovereign of the Seas, Fengyi said with a bland laugh. Even though her words and actions still had a regal air about them, she had assumed a much more withdrawn attitude in Phoenix City. For the Divine Phoenix Sect Master to obtain such a fine son-in-law is the envy of the world. Today's event is truly a matter worth celebrating, Zai Jai said with a hearty laugh. After that, he personally passed a jade box to him. I hope that you will kindly accept our humble gift. Just the box alone was made of the finest black enlightenment jade. It was an extremely rare resource that was worth entire cities. So the item contained within it was definitely no ordinary trinket. Feng Henkang's heart grew even more excited as he smiled. The fact that all of you distinguished personages of Supreme Ocean Palace were willing to make a personal trip down here is the greatest gift of all. Henkang will represent his daughter to thank all of you. Feng Ziming stepped forward and respectfully received the jade box from Zai Jai's hands. But his eyes drifted to the left and right, as if there was something occupying his thoughts. May I inquire as to whether Asgard Master Yun is already inside? Zai Jai asked in an extremely casual manner. Chair hasn't come yet, but he is already in the Divine Phoenix City. When the hour is near, he will naturally show up. When he addressed Yun Qi as chair, Feng Henkang instantly felt his back stiffen even more. Ah! Zai Jai gave a faint nod of his head before retrieving a spatial which flashed with purple light. Divine Phoenix Sect Master, this is the meager gift that our Supreme Ocean Palace has prepared for Asgard Master Yun's master. This is given as thanks for the mercy shown to us that day. After some thought, we realized that it would be rather hard to personally meet that senior again, so we will have to trouble the Divine Phoenix Sect Master to pass this on to Asgard Master Yun so that he can present it to this master. Feng Henkang subconsciously took the ring. Since that is the case, Henkang will definitely not disappoint you. Once Chair is here, I will advise him to pass it on to his master as soon as I can. It's just that. Divine Phoenix Sect Master, please speak your mind, Zai Jai said with a faint smile. Feng Henkang replied, Chair's teacher has superhuman abilities, and I'm afraid that it will be hard for anything to catch her eye in this mundane place. Henkang is truly curious as to what kind of generous gift the esteemed Supreme Ocean Palace has prepared. Could it be that Mr. Zai already knows what that senior is fond of? Heh heh heh. Zai Jai laughed before speaking in an extremely soft voice. There's no harm in telling this to the Divine Phoenix Sect Master, I suppose. This old one had recently discovered through pure coincidence that this senior perhaps has a fondness for fairy dresses that are a deep shade of red. So this old one has recently mobilized all of his guild's power to scour the lands for the highest quality fairy dresses, in hopes of exchanging them for that senior's smile. Zai Jai was someone whose status in Supreme Ocean Palace was nearly equal to the Sovereign of the Seas, but it was clear that his actions and words were an undisguised attempts to court Jasmine's favor, and there was also no need to disguise his intent in the first place. Furthermore, because none of them knew Jasmine's name, they could only address her as that senior. Ah, so that was the case. I thank Mr. Zai for his generosity and willingness to share, Feng Henkang said as he made a note to remember it. Please enter the palace and be seated. Your seats have already been prepared. Feng Henkang personally guided Fengyi and her retinue into the main lobby. All at once, the crowd fell completely silent as some profound practitioners, who had never dreamed that they would be able to see the Sovereign of the Seas in their lives, gaped and gawked at her. They did not dare to make a noise, and they did not even dare to breathe. Sun Moon Divine Hall's Hall Master Yi Meixi, with young Master Yi Xinghin, Divine Envoy Heaven's Equal, Divine Envoy Blazing Sun, Divine Envoy Moon Punisher, Divine Envoy Star Banisher, and Divine Envoy Earth Turner. 20 esteemed guests of Sun Moon Divine Hall have arrived. Not long after Supreme Ocean Palace had arrived, yet another loud shout had attracted everyone's attention. The members of Sun Moon Divine Hall had arrived as well, and the composition of their party had been the same as Supreme Ocean Palace. The heavenly monarch Yi Meixi had personally come, and he had also brought along the 5 divine envoys and the highest-ranked elders with him. At that time, Jasmine had left behind 4 nightmarish wounds on Yi Meixi's body that had tortured him for a full 6 days. The pain had been so bad that he was constantly wishing for either salvation or death. Even though he had escaped that nightmare more than 10 days ago, one could see that he had grown noticeably thinner. His face also still had a waxy, yellow complexion, and it was clear that he had not fully shaken off his trauma. To be able to torture a sacred master into this state within a few short days, one could well imagine just how dreadful that torture must have been. In order to protect his dignity as a sacred master, Yi Meixi should not have made an appearance in his current state. But today, he did not dare be absent from this event, and he also had to maintain his smile as he greeted people. He did not dare to show the slightest bit of neglect or discontent. After Yunqi and Jasmine had split up, he flew directly towards Phoenix City. When he was nearing Phoenix City, he suddenly sensed an abnormal aura and he immediately stopped in place. His eyes locked onto a black figure that was making his way slowly towards the city below him. Furthermore, that black figure jerked his head towards the sky the instant Yunqi looked at him. His gaze instantly swept across Yunqi's face, and his legs also come to a stop. The baleful aura that was abruptly rising from his body resembled that of an awakened wild beast. "Fen Juchen, what are you doing here?" Yunqi asked as he descended from the sky to stand in front of Fen Juchen. At this moment, his heart was filled with shock because Fen Juchen's aura was completely different from what it had been when they had met more than 10 days ago. One could even say that his aura had undergone a earth-shaking change. Standing in front of him, Yunqi could feel a chilling, bone-piercing gloominess radiate from his body, even though he had exuded such a cold and gloomy aura before. His aura was more than 10 times stronger and more intense now. His eyes had also nearly turned completely black, and Yunqi could not even see any whites in his eyes. "I've come to kill someone," Fen Juchen replied in a chilly voice. His gaze and his words contained no rage and no emotion. A large jet-black sword was strapped to his back. That was shockingly the heavenly Sin divine sword that Jasmine had tossed to him. "Kill who? I'm here to kill Xuanyuan Wentian." Every word that came from Fen Juchen's mouth seemed to echo out from some deep abyss. "Your devil blood has awakened?" Yunqi suddenly asked. Because other than that, Yunqi could think of no other logical explanation to explain the sudden and illogical growth in Fen Juchen's aura. Jasmine had initially said that the devil blood within the bodies of the clansmen of the Eternal Night royal family could be awakened using the devil's soul within the heavenly Sin divine sword. It had been the same for Yi Mufeng all those years ago as well. Furthermore, this had been the reason that Fen Juchen had wanted to snatch the heavenly Sin divine sword in the first place. Jasmine had indeed mentioned that the devil's soul within the heavenly Sin divine sword had still not been completely extinguished. There was an extremely weak part of it that was still in existence, but it was so insignificant that she had not even bothered to destroy it. Instead, she threw it towards Fen Juchen and announced these words in public. "Borrowing the power of this sword, you may one day possess the ability to kill Xuanyuan Wentian." It looked like Fen Juchen had already used the heavenly Sin divine sword to achieve his desires. "Get lost," Fen Juchen said coldly. "Today is the engagement date for Feng Zuer and I, so Xuanyuan Wentian will indeed be here. If you want to kill him, please wait for the grand banquet to end. Don't ruin the mood for Zuer and I," Yunqi said calmly. "Furthermore, even though your strength has risen greatly, I do not think you can kill Xuanyuan Wentian yet. You are being far too anxious and hasty. Before I change my mind to kill you first, get out of my sight." Fen Juchen gave a low roar of fury. "HMPH, suit yourself," Yunqi said as he flew into the air, not wasting any further words arguing with him. But after that, he turned around in midair and said, "I want to kill Xuanyuan Wentian even more than you do. But if you don't want all of your painstaking effort to go to waste, then you better grit your teeth and bear it. Bear it until your victory is absolutely certain. I don't need you to lecture me, get lost." Fen Juchen's fist exploded towards the sky as dark and gloomy black energy immediately caused the light to dim. Yun Qi turned around and did not bother with him any longer as he flew towards Phoenix City. It was already very near to the time of the engagement banquet. Chinachu notice. I know I stated that I was going to China with Mamichu to visit Granichu and was hoping to return sometime June or so. But Mamichu struck again, pushing our flight to June 1st. My trip to China is also now extended from June to the middle of July. Due to this trip, the planned double daily month releases for men will now be even more delayed. They will still come out after my trip, though. Any regular chapters for every one of our series will still be coming out when I'm there. Men 7, ATG 7, SRTBD by Patreon. I will try my best to get them out according to schedule, but if any chapters are missed due to Chinachu problems, all of them will be made up when I get home. I know some people do not read the chapter posts in their haste to read the chapter, so I'll be leaving this message at the bottom of each chapter as a reminder.